Chapter 700. Ling Yi remembered the first time he saw Poppy was when he first entered the Black Tiger clan. More than a dozen children were in a training room. They were all in pairs, practicing with each other. She was the only one who stood alone in a dark corner, as if she was being ostracized, watching the others practice. He was brought in front of her, and that person said to Poppy, "He's new. Guide him." "Okay." Poppy's answer was short, and her gaze only lingered on him for a second before she looked away. Later, Ling Yi found out that she wasn't being ostracized. She was the leader of this team, and these people were under her command. Ling Yi was a street kid. He didn't know who his parents were. He was raised by a street kid, and when the street kid died, he became a street kid. He wandered the streets every day. Sometimes he could get money, and sometimes he couldn't get anything. He could only pick up garbage to eat. Being brought here by the Black Tiger clan, he was able to eat and wear warm clothes. He didn't have any objections, but the training every day was a little painful. Especially when he was training alone with Poppy, she was always very cruel, to him and to her. He found that the people in the team were a little afraid of Poppy. They didn't eat or bathe with her. He also often heard people talking about her in private. There were good and bad things, but Poppy didn't care. If she bumped into them, she would teach them a lesson. If she didn't, it was fine. The first time Ling Yi had a conflict with the people in the team, it was because of Poppy. One of the boys in the team said bad things about Poppy, and Ling Yi happened to see it. At that time, Ling Yi and Poppy were friends. Poppy would say a few more words in front of him, so he was very protective of Poppy. When the boy said bad things about Poppy, he didn't even think about it and attacked. This incident caused Poppy to be punished, and he and the boy were punished as well. However, Poppy, as the leader, was not up to standard. She was punished much more severely than they were. Ling Yi always remembered clearly that after he was punished, he went to find Poppy and saw a bloody person in the dormitory. If she wasn't lying on her bed, he wouldn't have recognized it as Poppy. He also remembered that it was the first time he cried since he became sensible. Poppy lay on the bed as though she was dead. He felt for her pulse, but it was so weak that he almost could not detect it. The organization did not allow anyone to treat Ing Su, so Ling Yi could only wipe Ing Su's body and bandage her wounds himself. During that period of time, the weather was hot and cold, and Ing Su's wounds could not heal. One night, she had a high fever and was about to die. Ling Yi panicked and did not know what to do. A girl on the bed next to his saw that he was crying so hard and whispered to him to find Hall Master Wu. Hall Chief Wu was the one who had brought him before Poppy back then. There were a total of 6 Hall Masters in the Black Tiger Hall. Hall Master Wu was one of the 6 Hall Masters. Ling Yi didn't know if he could do it, but he still went. He was just a child who had not officially become a member of the Black Tiger clan. It would not be easy for him to meet the clan leader. He had asked around for a long time before he found out about clan leader Wu's itinerary. He had stopped him halfway and asked him to save Poppy. He originally thought that Hall Master Wu would ignore him, but to his surprise, Hall Master Wu strode over in that direction as soon as he finished speaking. With Hall Chief Wu around, Poppy was quickly sent to the hospital. But because he had left the training room without permission, he was punished for a long time. By the time his punishment was over, Poppy had already been discharged from the hospital. He dragged his tired body to see her. When he reached the door, he found Hall Chief Wu inside. He instinctively avoided him. "Poppy, are you really not going to consider it?" Hall Chief Wu blocked Poppy from inside. He could not see what was happening to her, but he could hear her voice. "Hall Chief Wu, you know the rules of the organization better than I do." She was clearly just a child at that time, but she did not flinch in the face of a high-ranking person like Hall Chief Wu. Hall Chief Wu snorted coldly. "As long as you are willing, I can let you leave the organization." "Thank you for your kindness, Hall Chief Wu. Poppy, I will give you one more chance. You can come and find me if you regret it." Hall Chief Wu left with those words and strode away. Ling Yi paced around outside for a long time. For some reason, he did not go in. Later, he found out that Hall Chief Wu had always liked Poppy. It was just that Poppy's performance was extraordinary. There were people watching her from above, so Hall Chief Wu did not dare to act rashly. He only found out about this after Hall Chief Wu died. And Hall Chief Wu's death was related to him. He still remembered that day when he went to look for Poppy. Before he reached her room, he saw people guarding it. He recognized those people. They were the people around Hall Chief Wu. Ling Yi had a bad feeling. He quickly went downstairs, went around to the back, and climbed up from the outside. Poppy's room was on the 3rd floor. When he climbed up, he happened to see the window. The curtains were not drawn. Through the window, Ling Yi saw Poppy lying unconscious on the bed. Hall Chief Wu was on top of her, unbuttoning her clothes. Ling Yi's mind exploded. His mind was filled with murderous intent. It was probably at that time that he found out that he liked Poppy. The bed was facing the inside, and Hall Chief Wu's back was facing him. In a fit of anger, Ling Yi climbed in through the window and stabbed Hall Chief Wu in the back. Then, he jumped onto the bed and stabbed Hall Chief Wu in the neck. Blood spurted out and splattered on Poppy's face. Hall Chief Wu was immersed in lust, so Ling Yi was able to get his hands on him. Normally, he would have been discovered before he even got close. Ling Yi woke Poppy up, but Poppy did not panic at all. She only asked him to find another Hall Chief. The 6 Hall Masters were at odds with each other on the surface, and Poppy had used the other Hall Master who was at odds with Hall Master Wu to successfully fake the entire incident as Hall Master Wu had tried to rape her and she had killed Hall Master Wu in self-defense. Although Hall Chief Wu's people had objections, they could only grit their teeth and swallow their blood under the rules of the organization. They could go outside to find other women, but the girls in the organization were not to be trifled with. Ling Yi and Poppy escaped, but from then on, Hall Chief Wu's people secretly targeted them. In the end, no one dared to partner with them. Poppy and Ling Yi became fixed partners. Even if there were people secretly targeting them, under Poppy's leadership, their mission completion rate was far ahead of other teams. He accompanied her through the darkest times, through life and death, but in the end, she fell in love with another man. He was still excluded from her world. But he was not willing to give up. He would spend more time with her. One day, she would forget that man and fall in love with him. He would replace that man and become the most important person in her heart. He could afford to wait. When a person did not give up on you when you were at your worst, no matter what you became, he would not leave you. Then he might be able to accompany you through life and death. Ling Yi. Chapter 701. Every time she parted with Feng Ci, Shi Shang was very calm. She slowly took off the watch on Feng Ci's wrist and kept it in the space. She held his hand that had lost its warmth and whispered, "See you in the next world." Shi Shang returned to the system space and slowly walked to the screen. "Host, the intruder didn't appear in this world." The system immediately inquired. "He appeared." Shi Shang's fingertips swiped across the screen. He appeared once in the mansion. It didn't know anything. Shi Shang didn't count on this retarded system anymore, but she was in a good mood and explained to it, "When Ing Su fell, I didn't hurt her. Ing Su didn't do it on purpose. I found a stone on the ground. What a deep trap. Then why didn't he make a move?" Shi Shang despised. "Do you think I patched it for nothing? His identity this time is definitely not my match. Would he dare to come and seek death? Host, if you treat me like this, I'll tell you." Name, Shirshing Moral Points, 255000 Health Points, 40 points, 42,000 Mission Grade, and Mission Score, 94 Hidden Mission, Complete Hidden Mission Reward, 2,000 points Side Mission 1, Complete Side Mission 1 Reward, 3,000 points Side Mission 2, Complete Side Mission 2 Reward, 1,000 points Item Column, Queen's Crown, Ghost King's Heart, Dark Knight Amazing. My moral points increased by 10,000 points. How can eliminating prostitution and gangs increase my points so much? Host, don't think too much. The moral points increased so much because of Su Shan Shan. Shi Shang. Can't you let me be happy? Why are you interrupting? Select the world. Insufficient authority, unable to select the world. Do you really think the system is yours? Do you think you can do whatever you want? Shi Shang was a little depressed. Insufficient authority again. And she couldn't even unlock the last authority. If she unlocked it, the whole system would collapse, which was equivalent to suicide. The system was a little proud. Its master wasn't that easy to deal with, humph. Shi Shang rested for a moment in the space and waved her hand irritably. Next world. Beginning transmission. Everyone knew that Ruan Xiaoyang had no regard for the law. When Shi Shang woke up, she found that she was being carried on her back and tied to a stick. There were people in front of her, and her body kept swaying. Above her was a dense forest. Mottled light fell from the canopy and flashed quickly in her eyes. Hey, this little girl is awake. Suddenly, a perverted hand reached out from the top of Shi Shang's head and pinched Shi Shang's cheek. Girl Shang was speechless. She would remember this grudge. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and go back. It will be troublesome if the officials catch up. The pervert pinched the Shi Shang a few more times. It felt so good that he didn't want to let go. The person in front of him scolded him, and the pervert withdrew his hand. Shi Shang tried his best to raise his head and look at the owner of the hand. He would definitely chop him up first. Shi Shang tried to move his wrists after checking the owner of the groping hands. However, his wrists were firmly tied to the rod and he couldn't break free at all. Her body seemed to be very weak. She was panting after struggling for a while. You're always using such a weak chicken body. Do you dare to kill everyone in sight? Don't move. I can't bear to hit you with such tender skin. The pervert's voice came from the front again, and he took the opportunity to pinch her. Shi Shang was speechless. I told you that I was a person with a temper. Once was enough. But you pinched me twice. This is not over. This group of people was very fast. Before Shi Shang could break free from the rope, they had already started to climb the mountain and entered a mountain village. There was a sign hanging at a crooked angle in the mountain village. Shi Shang couldn't tell what the words were because of the wind and the sun. Shi Shang was put down on the ground like a pig. His ears were filled with noisy voices. We're finally back. I'm so tired. Hurry up and report to the boss that we have a great harvest this time. Shi Shang tilted his head and saw a group of people moving things inside. Bandits. These two words popped up in Shi Shang's mind. The group of people was busy organizing the loot and didn't rush to deal with Shi Shang. Their thoughts were simple. She was a girl who was tied up. How could she escape? Shi Shang estimated her physical strength first. She was a little weak. She wasn't a martial artist. So the best thing to do now was wait for the bandit boss. As the saying went, to catch bandits, catch the leader first. Everything would be solved if they got rid of the bandit boss first. No. Shi Shang suddenly realized. Why did she have to use her brain? Damn it. Her body was weak, but she had a sword. What was she afraid of? Shi Shang felt that he was stupid. He quickly took out his sword and cut the rope. What are you doing? One of the bandits turned around and saw Shi Shang cutting the rope with a long sword. He immediately shouted and ran toward her. His shout attracted the attention of the nearby bandits. They all dropped their things and surrounded Shi Shang. They were all talking at once. There was no sense of danger at all. Who gave her the sword? No. The place where she was just now was empty. Where did the sword come from? It's so big. You can't hide it in the girl's chest, right? When the first bandit approached, Shi Shang had already cut all the ropes and stood up with the help of the iron sword. Little girl, you still want to run? Do you think you can run? Don't you know where we are? The first bandit laughed sinisterly. Be a good girl and follow us. We promise you a good life. If you dare to resist, don't blame us for destroying you. Where is this place? Shi Shang looked weak. His body swayed as if he would fall to the ground in the next second. This is Haifeng Stockade. The bandit proudly puffed out his chest, waiting for Shi Shang to scream and beg for mercy. However, he didn't. The girl who looked weak was looking at him as if he was an idiot. There was a kind of arrogance in her eyes. Her pink lips moved slightly, and she slowly spat out a few words. Never heard of it. You don't know about Haifeng Stockade? The surrounding bandits immediately exploded. Their voices were so loud that the birds in the trees nearby flew away. Who doesn't know about Haifeng Stockade in this area? Is this girl an idiot? Even an idiot knows about Haifeng Stockade. As if Shi Shang didn't know how big of a crime Haifeng Stockade had committed, they all glared at Shi Shang fiercely. Damn, is Haifeng Stockade that awesome? Everyone in the world had to know whether or not it was true. What's wrong with not knowing? You're good, you're awesome, but you're still bandits. Shi Shang confidently glared back. What are you staring at? Your eyes are so small. No matter how much you stare, they can only be so big. Who told you we're bandits? The bandit was angry. Then what are you? If you're not bandits, then are you Liangshan heroes who rob the rich to help the poor? The bandit took a deep breath and solemnly shouted, We're bandits. Shi Shang. Oh my God, where did this idiot come from? Hurry up and take him back for treatment. Don't make a fool of yourself here. A bandit next to him weakly reminded him, Xuanzi, bandits and robbers are pretty much the same. Asterisk, please vote. Chapter 702. The bandit called Xuanzi flew into a rage out of humiliation. Do you think I don't know? What are you waiting for? Grab her and send her to the boss. Bah, you little bitch still want to run away. The other bandits were probably afraid of Xuanzi and didn't dare to refute. They stepped forward to grab Shi Shang. Wait a minute. There was a sudden shout from behind. The group of bandits immediately made way for a man dressed like a scholar, waving a chicken feather fan, to come over. Military advisor. Xuanzi called out and said flatteringly, What can I do for you, military advisor? Shi Shang was speechless. A bandit's lair actually had a military advisor. That was really something. Military advisor sized up Shi Shang. Where did you catch this woman? In Baihe village. Xuanzi replied, Military advisor, don't you think she's very beautiful? I've never seen such a beautiful woman. Military advisor didn't know what to think. After a while he nodded and said, Send her to the boss. Okay. They definitely wouldn't have a chance to taste such a beautiful woman. They would have to wait until the boss got tired of her. Shi Shang waved his iron sword, which made a swooshing sound in the air. The bandits didn't dare to move forward. They just circled around her. Go. She's just a woman. Why are you afraid of her? She has a weapon. No matter how he looked at the sword, it was a little scary. Xuanzi kicked the nearest bandit's butt. So what if she has a weapon? There are so many of you and you're still afraid of a woman. Don't let the boss wait too long. Hurry up. Now that things had come to this point, they could only brace themselves and do it. Shi Shang looked at them coldly. When they approached, he waved his iron sword gently. The nearest bandits were directly sent flying by the sword energy. They fell several meters away and hit the ground, splashing a layer of dust. Ouch. Ah. My hand. The bandits who didn't suffer looked at Shi Shang in horror and involuntarily stepped back. Xuanzi was also frightened by this and hid behind military advisor. Military advisor. She. How could she be so powerful? She wasn't this powerful when they caught her before. Shi Shang looked at Xuanzi. This was the man who pinched her face just now. Shi Shang's gaze made Xuanzi's scalp tingle. This was not the gaze a girl should have. It was so cold that it could freeze a person. Even bandits like them, who had licked blood from their blades, did not have such a gaze. The girl standing in front of them suddenly grinned, and the surrounding light seemed to dim in an instant, turning into a hell of white bones, and they were in the middle of it. Screams rose and fell in the forest. This was a transmigration story. The female lead, Su'er, was the eldest daughter of the Su family in Baiha village. Because of the annual drought, the crops they planted were not harvested, and the family did not have enough food to eat. Su'er was going to be sold to a landlord as a concubine. Su'er was not happy and hanged herself. When he opened his eyes, he saw Su'er, who had come from the modern era. After understanding his situation, Su'er first dealt with the landlord and used her knowledge from the modern era to start a business in the ancient era. She also changed from a tanned little fat girl to a fair and tender little girl. Many men in Baiha village looked at Su'er in a new light, and countless people came to propose marriage. However, the female lead definitely did not agree. Later, the female lead met the male lead, Du Guxiu. As the prince regent, Du Guxiu was chased by people and broke into the female lead's room in the middle of the night. Naturally, the female lead saved the male lead, and the male lead lived in the female lead's house. The male lead found that the female lead had many strange but very practical ideas, and gradually fell in love with her. Every time someone made things difficult for the female lead, the male lead would come out to protect her. Everyone in the village said that the two had an improper relationship, but the female lead did not come out to explain and let these rumors spread. There were droughts every year, and after the female lead found the problem, she ordered people to build canals to divert water from the river to the fields to solve the harvest problem. She also promoted the slogan of, "Defeat the landlord, return the land to the people." The male lead admired the female lead's personality, and after his people found him, he did not rush back. Instead, he stayed with the female lead for a while before bringing people back to the capital. The female lead continued to build her own business, and walked out of the mountains, walked out of Baiha village, entered the county town, and even more advanced cities. Her name was known by all the villages within 10 miles, and she benefited countless people. Du Guxiu would occasionally come out to help the female lead kill elite monsters and help her level up. The relationship between the two became more and more ambiguous, but they never broke that layer of relationship. Until the female lead became the richest person in the country, Du Guxiu ascended the throne, and sent people to announce that she was the empress. The ending was more or less like that. The original owner, Ruan Xiaoyang, was the daughter of the Ruan family in Baiha County, and could be considered the richest family in the area. 80% of the land within 10 miles belonged to the Ruan family. Ruan Xiaoyang's parents died of illness one after another, and she was the only one left. With this land, she would not have to worry about food and drink for the rest of her life. She would find a son-in-law and live happily and peacefully for the rest of her life. This was also the future life that Ruan Xiaoyang had planned. However, the female lead appeared. She was the one who suddenly rushed out of the shop next door, and Ruan Xiaoyang's carriage hit her, but the female lead confidently asked her to apologize. Ruan Xiaoyang was a daughter of a rich family, so how could she apologize? She let someone drive the carriage away. After that, there were several conflicts that were neither too big nor too small. The hatred between the two was formed just like that. After the female lead found out that the land in Baiha village belonged to the Ruan family, she urged the villagers to make trouble and asked for less rent. Ruan Xiaoyang was so angry that she went to find the female lead herself. Who knew that she would run into bandits who came down from the mountain to rob her? Ruan Xiaoyang and the female lead ran away together. The group was blocked by the bandits. Ruan Xiaoyang and the female lead were both beautiful, so the bandits had evil intentions and wanted to take them back. However, the female lead was protected by the male lead, so in the end, only Ruan Xiaoyang was unlucky. She was taken back to Haifeng village, and was defiled by the head of the village on the same day. She resisted, tried to run away, and even used her family's property to bribe them. The bandits agreed on the surface that after they took away all of the Ruan family's property, they didn't mention letting her go at all. Ruan Xiaoyang waited for a chance to run away, but at this time, the officials came and attacked. She was treated as a bandit and shot to death. Before she died, she saw the female lead standing among the officials. She saw her clearly and knew that she wasn't a bandit, but she didn't stop her and just watched her die. The original owner didn't have much hatred. Her biggest wish was to protect the property her parents left her and live a peaceful life. Shishang didn't understand Ruan Xiaoyang's thoughts. She did have hatred in her heart, but not much. However, when faced with such a situation, no matter who was right or wrong, she should hate. Why did Yuan Xiaoyang only wish to live a peaceful life? At this point, Shi Shang could only say, people's hearts were complicated. Everyone had their own aspirations. Asterisk little fairy. The landlord didn't save any food, coupon, at home. Shi Shang, Rob. Little fairy. They didn't give it to me. I was so angry that I cried. Shi Shang. Draws sword, cherub. Chapter 703. When Shi Shang came, the original owner was caught by the bandits. At this time, the female lead and the male lead should be cultivating their relationship in the mountains. In the wilderness, it was very suitable for a relationship. Shi Shang crossed his legs and ate the drumstick. He looked at the bandits who were tied up in the courtyard and pondered. How should he deal with them? Kill them? This was considered as getting rid of evil for the people. His character should increase, right? Heifeng Gang had been here for many years. The leader was a murderer. Later, he became familiar with a few ruffians and established a gang here. It became a big tumor in the area. Relying on the fact that this mountain was easy to defend and hard to attack, these bandits were fearless. They went down to rob people and women when they had nothing to do. Shi Shang didn't care about the women who were robbed. They should have run away by now. After Shi Shang finished the drumstick, she killed the man who touched her and the leader who raped the original owner. She didn't touch the rest of the bandits. She set a fire and went down the mountain. What was the difference between this and killing them? What a joke. Would I leave a scourge alive and wait for them to take revenge in the future? Shi Shang went down the mountain. The fire on the mountain was high and the thick smoke filled half the sky. The road down the mountain was not easy to walk. Shi Shang walked and stopped for a long time before she reached the foot of the mountain. When she returned to Baihe County, the sky was already dark. The Yuan clan was currently in chaos. Seeing Shi Shang return, the servants immediately surrounded her so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. Miss, where did you go? How did you end up like this? Quickly prepare hot water. Miss, slow down. When Shi Shang went to Baihe village, he only brought 2 people. He didn't tell the people in the Yuan family, so they didn't know where she went. It's okay. Shi Shang waved her hand. Her voice was soft and weak. It made people worried. Maid Qiu Shui supported Shi Shang. Her face was full of worry. Miss, why do you look so pale? Are you sick? I'm tired. Qiu Shui quickly called someone to send Shi Shang back to her room. The hot water was already prepared. Qiu Shui wanted to help Shi Shang bathe. Shi Shang wasn't used to it and rejected Qiu Shui. Qiu Shui felt a little strange. In the past, she was the one who served the young mistress when she bathed. Qiu Shui closed the door and went out. The maids outside immediately surrounded her. Big sister Qiu Shui, how is young miss? Young miss is acting strange. Autumn Water frowned. What happened? Where has miss been these days? Qiu Shui looked at the room and waved her hand. Let's wait for miss to rest first. It's fine as long as miss is back safely. Go and prepare the food first. The maidservants responded and ran towards the kitchen. Shi Shang soaked in the bathtub for a while and felt less tired. There was spiritual energy in this plane. It was better to cultivate with such a weak body. When Shi Shang came out of the bathtub, the water was already cold. Qiu Shui paced back and forth outside with a frown. She only heaved a sigh of relief when she saw Shi Shang come out. Miss, are you hungry? I'll get someone to serve the dishes. Qiu Shui was the host's personal maid. She had grown up with the host since she was young. Although she was young, she was very meticulous. She was a very calm person. She was usually in charge of all matters in the residence. The food had just been prepared. It was quite sumptuous. The food in the ancient times maintained its original taste. Some tasted good, while others tasted worse. It could not suppress the fishy smell inside. Shi Shang was not picky as long as it was not something unpalatable. He ate 2 bowls of rice in a row. After eating, Qiu Shui asked carefully, "Miss, where have you been these days?" They were going crazy looking for her. Haifeng village. Shi Shang burped and said calmly. Qiu Shui's face paled. She stuttered, Miss, why did you go to Haifeng village? Even the officials were not willing to go there. Why did Miss go there? Shi Shang said matter-of-factly, I was caught. Qiu Shui's hand that was cleaning up the bowls and chopsticks trembled. The bowls and plates fell to the ground and shattered into pieces, splashing all over the floor. The room fell into an eerie silence. Qiu Shui looked at Shi Shang in shock. A few seconds later, she rushed to Shi Shang. She was anxious and worried. Miss, are you okay? Did you? Qiu Shui did not dare to say those words. Shi Shang looked at her and shook his head. No. That's good. Qiu Shui patted her chest. She was scared to death. Master and Madam would protect Miss from heaven. They would not let anything happen to Mississippi. Miss, why were you caught? Why didn't you tell us? What would we do if something happened? Shi Shang was speechless. He was not going to take the blame. Ruan Xiaoyang was the one who did not tell them, not her. Qiu Shui had a lot of questions. She asked them all about how she was caught and how she escaped from Haifeng village. In the end, she was so angry that she wanted to report it to the officials. These bandits have no respect for the law. They dared to catch our Mississippi. We must report it to the officials. They have no respect for the law, Shi Shang said calmly. Why talk about the law with bandits? Weren't they retarded? Miss. Qiu Shui was furious. Why are you still so calm? Shi Shang raised his eyebrows. What else can I do? If it's useful to report it to the officials, they would have been surrounded. Don't waste your energy. So we're just going to let this go? Qiu Shui was not convinced. Her miss had never suffered since she was young. Now that she was caught and brought to Haifeng village, how could she take this lying down? Shi Shang was silent for a moment. If she told her that she had already wiped out the entire Haifeng gang, would she faint from shock? To avoid trouble, Shi Shang decided not to tell her. Shi Shang gave Qiu Shui a perfunctory reply and chased her out with the excuse that he was tired. Qiu Shui stood outside the door. Her anger calmed down bit by bit. She was confused. Why did Miss? In the past, Miss always had a childish temper. Although she had a temper, she would ask Qiu Shui when she encountered any problems. This time, Miss seemed to have her own opinions. The Ruan family was really rich. Not only did they have land, but they also had shops. The monthly income was impressive. Such a large amount of wealth seemed to have become the female leads after the original owner died. If she wanted to protect these things, she had to deal with the female lead. Shi Shang asked someone to send all the account books to her the next day. Qiu Shui was even more confused. Miss, didn't you hate these things the most in the past? When the old master was here, he asked Miss to look at the account books and learn. She was not willing. Why did she want to look at the account books now? Shi Shang flipped through the account books. He supported his chin with one hand and said casually, I don't want the Ruan family to fall into my hands. Qiu Shui was stunned. Then she smiled and said, Miss has grown up. If Miss had experienced some things and grown up, Qiu Shui suddenly felt that it was not a bad thing. At least Miss was fine now. Miss would be better in the future. ## today's rice-flavored ticket # good night. Cherub. Chapter 704. The accounts in ancient times weren't like in modern times where the system could calculate the answers. Every account had to be looked at and calculated by oneself. Moreover, it was written in big letters. When Shi Shang finished reading, he felt dizzy and nauseous. Shi Shang picked out the problematic accounts and said to Qiu Shui, change the managers of these shops. Huh? Cho Shui was confused. She flipped through the accounts. Miss, the managers of these shops are all old. Is there a problem? When Ruan Xiaoyang was unwilling to learn, Cho Shui was forced to learn by her father. She was the one who looked through the accounts and didn't see any problems. Shi Sheng pointed at a few places where the accounts were falsified. Cho Shui didn't understand at first, but after reading a few times, she understood. Her expression turned ugly. How can they do this? We give them the best treatment. They've been working for the Ruan family for a long time. It's because they're old that they dare to do this. Ruan Xiaoyang was young and a girl, so these people dared to do this. Miss, I'll go now. Cho Shui took the accounts and went out. They dared to deceive their superiors and think that their miss was easy to bully. The news of these shopkeepers spread quickly. Some people who wanted to make a fortune didn't dare to have any ideas after this incident. The miss left behind by the Ruan family wasn't easy to fool. After dealing with the Ruan family, Shi Sheng had time to pay attention to the female lead. Are we still collecting the rent from Baihe village? Shi Sheng called Cho Shui over to ask. Cho Shui nodded. Not yet. They made a big fuss before, so we collected the rent from the neighboring village. However, I heard that there were bandits in Baihe village and all the food was stolen. I'm afraid we can't collect much. Miss, why are you suddenly asking about this? Shi Sheng waved his hand. Let's go. Follow me to show off. Huh? Cho Shui didn't understand the word, show off. She looked at Shi Sheng in confusion. What was Miss talking about? Collecting rent. Shi Sheng changed his words. Let the subordinates do this. How can you go? Cho Shui disagreed. The village was dirty and messy. It wasn't a place for Miss to go. Most importantly, Miss was an unmarried girl. How could she show her face in public? It's boring to stay at home. Let's go and have a look. Shi Sheng's tone was indifferent, but no one could refute him. Cho Shui looked at Shi Sheng in confusion. Why did Miss become so strange? She opened her mouth, wanting to persuade Shi Sheng, but her gaze suddenly met with Shi Sheng's eyes. His eyes were as clear as before, but there was less fluctuation in them. It was a calmness that she had never seen before. It did not contain the slightest bit of emotion. The coldness that spread out from the depths of his eyes made people's hearts turn cold. Cho Shui was stunned. What happened to young Miss? White River Village was quite a distance away from White River County. The carriage swayed for half the morning before they finally arrived at White River Village. Shi Sheng alighted from the carriage. There were farmlands by the roadside, and some tenants were harvesting rice. As soon as Shi Sheng's carriage appeared, those people noticed it. There was a sign of the Ruan residence hanging on the carriage. Of course, they knew that it was someone from the Ruan residence and was most likely here to collect rent. However, when they saw Shi Sheng alighting from the carriage in silk and satin, some of their expressions changed. Isn't this the other day? Why did she alight from the Ruan residence's carriage? Ruan Xiaoyang had never been to White River Village. The tenants here only knew her name, but had never seen her before. The last time she came to White River Village, she did not report her name. That day, when Ruan Xiaoyang was caught by the bandits, some of the tenants saw it. Now that they saw her alighting from the Ruan residence's carriage, how could they not be surprised? The Ruan residence was their boss. The village chief of White River Village heard the news and rushed over. When he saw the previous rent collector standing beside Shi Sheng, he thought for a moment and roughly knew who this person was. Boss. The village chief called out tentatively. You're the village chief? Cho Shui asked on behalf of Shi Sheng. Gather everyone in your village. Our miss is here to collect rent. He was not there on the day the bandits robbed, so he did not know what was going on. Now that he heard Cho Shui's words, he only felt troubled. This? He looked at the villagers behind him and rubbed his hands. Boss, it's not that we don't want to pay. This time, the bandits from Hafing Stockade came down to rob us. Other than what we have in the fields, we don't have any food at home. Can you slow down and let us finish the winter? Qiu Shui looked at the village chief. The Ruan family won't be so ruthless. We also know your difficulties, but you still have to pay some. There were so many tenants in the surrounding villages. If those people heard that the people of White River Village did not pay the rent, wouldn't they make a scene? When old Master Ruan was still around, he was very tolerant of these tenants. If they could not pay this year, they could pay next year. However, it was not like they did not pay at all. There were rules in every profession. Once the rules were broken, it would cause a collapse. The village chief said in pain, "There's really no other way this year. The villagers only have this little bit of food left in the fields. It's hard to say if we can even survive the winter. Boss, please do us a favor and be kind. We'll definitely make up for it next year." Qiu Shui could not make up her mind. She looked at Shi Sheng. "Miss, what do you think? Previously, you said that you wanted to reduce the rent?" Shi Sheng glanced at the village chief. The village chief's heart skipped a beat. He said with a bitter face, "Boss, the harvest is getting worse year by year. We also have no other choice. After paying the rent, there's not much left." Shi Sheng's lips curled up. "But from what I know, the other family's rent is higher than ours. The Ruan family only took 40%, while the others took 50%. It was a whole 10% less." The village chief wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. He did not know how to answer. He could not help but blame the female lead in his heart. If the boss did not rent the land to them, what would they do? "Ruan Xiaoyang." A delicate voice came from the ridge of the field. The female lead, who was wearing coarse hemp clothes, came up from the field. Her calves were still stained with mud. She looked a little pathetic. Of course, Qiu Shui recognized Su'er. She had caused trouble for her miss a few times before. Miss was kind and did not argue with her, but Su'er still took advantage of her and acted as if she was the most reasonable. "Su'er, what do you want?" Qiu Shui blocked in front of Shi Sheng. "Is Mrs. Name something you can call? Isn't a name for people to call?" Su'er said righteously. "Ruan Xiaoyang, what are you doing here again?" Su'er knew that the original owner had been captured by bandits, but she did not report it to the officials or the Ruan family. In Su'er's heart, she felt that it was good that someone taught Ruan Xiaoyang a lesson for exploiting people like her. She did not expect her to come back in one piece. "Collecting rent, of course." Shi Sheng's eyes curved into a smile. "Isn't that obvious?" Shi Sheng. Farming, you actually want I to farm? Little fairy. Beautiful scenery, how beautiful. Shi Sheng. Haha. System notification. Little fairy has gone offline. Chapter 705. Su Hua puffed out her chest and accused Shi Sheng righteously. "It's not like you don't know that our village was robbed by bandits. Now you're here to collect rent. Are you trying to drive our entire village to death? What does it have to do with me?" Shi Sheng looked at Su'er in amusement. "It's your problem that you were robbed. Do you want me to bear the loss for you? Who do you think you are?" It was like a seller selling something, but the buyer was robbed on the way, and the buyer came back to ask the seller to take responsibility. Wasn't this bullshit? Su'er thought of herself as the messenger of justice. The Ruan family is rich, and you don't lack rent. Can't you be kinder? Shi Sheng spread his hands. How can you blame me for being rich? I give you the land, and you pay the rent. That's the rule. Then can't you delay if we can't hand it over now? Su'er looked furious. You bourgeoisie only know how to exploit the people. You're a girl, how can you be so cruel? You're so reasonable when you can't hand it over. It's not like I stole your food. What's the point of being angry with I? What a joke. Same here. Shi Sheng smiled insincerely. Su'er could tell that Shi Sheng was referring to her being taken away by bandits. She was a little short of breath, but she quickly calmed down. She was just a mentally handicapped girl, and she couldn't save her. Besides, wasn't she fine? Those bandits just wanted money, and the Ruan family was rich. What could they do to her? Sir. The village chief couldn't stand it anymore and pulled her behind him. You're just a girl, why are you interrupting? Village chief, she's forcing us into a dead end. Su'er was not convinced. Ruan Xiaoyang, don't think that you're so great just because you're rich. Not everything in this world can be bought with money. Is that so? Shi Shang's mouth twitched, and his voice was a little teasing, but I'm rich. If money can't buy it, I can use other methods. Su'er. She looked at Shi Shang strangely. This was the Ruan Xiaoyang she knew. Why did her tone change so much? The village head was drenched in cold sweat. He asked someone to hold Su'er back, and he hurriedly apologized to Shi Shang. You can take your time, but she has to hand it over. Shi Shang pointed at Su'er. Why should I? Su'er broke free from the person who was grabbing her and rushed forward again. Why was she the only one who had to hand it over? I just can't stand you. Didn't they say that I'm cruel? How could he let these two words down? I'll show you how ruthless I am. Su'er was so angry that her face turned red. She wanted to argue with Shi Shang, but the village head quickly stopped her. If she continued, the whole village might have to hand her over. Su'er could only watch as Shi Shang got into the carriage and left. Su'er suffered a loss at the Shi Shang's hands. She was still indignant when she went back home. She was even more determined to defeat the bourgeoisie. There were 6 people in Su'er's family: Su'er's parents, 2 younger brothers, and 1 younger sister. She was the oldest child in the family. Her parents favored boys over girls, and they doted on her 2 younger brothers. She and her younger sister did all the chores. What's wrong with you? Su'er was standing in the yard pulling the leaves when she heard a voice behind her. Su'er turned her head and saw Du Guxiu standing at the door. She suppressed her anger and asked, Why are you up? Du Guxiu was bitten by a poisonous snake on the mountain last time, and he had been recuperating for the past few days. Du Guxiu was at least 185 meters tall. He was wearing a coarse hemp garment, and his face was still unshaven. He looked quite wild and beautiful. You've been standing outside for a long time. Did someone bully you? Du Guxiu asked. Su'er went forward to support Du Guxiu. It's that Ruan Xiaoyang. She came to collect rent. How can our village afford the rent now? The Ruan family is so rich, but they still exploit us. Do you think it's easy for us to grow crops? Su'er kept complaining, and Du Guxiu listened quietly. When Su'er went to cook, he whistled outside. A black shadow quietly jumped in through the window. Master, go and check on Ruan Xiaoyang. Yes. The black shadow quietly left, just like how it came. The other people in the village saw Shi Shang's face. They were afraid that he would settle the bill with them for that day. Knowing that only Su'er's family had to pay the rent, they didn't dare to say anything. Shi Shang asked Su'er to pay the rent alone, and she was definitely unwilling. The next day, Shi Shang heard that Su'er beat up the person who was sent to collect the rent. Of course, it wasn't Su'er who beat him up, but Du Guxiu. The steward who collected the rent came back with a bloody nose and a swollen face. He cried with snot and tears, Miss, that Su'er is too arrogant. Not only did she not pay the rent, she even asked someone to beat me up. Look at how badly I've been beaten up. What did she say? With a male lead by her side, she could give him anything. She said that she didn't have any food, but she only had 1 life. The steward gritted his teeth and said, Miss, listen to her. What nonsense is she saying? She's acting shamelessly. Wasn't the female lead acting shamelessly? Most of the female leads had this skill. It was still the same saying, shameless people are invincible. Shi Shang waved his hand. Go and get the money. Rest well for the next few days. When the steward heard that he could get the money, he didn't have time to complain. He was full of gratitude. Thank you, Mississippi. Su'er and Shi Shang acted shamelessly, and Shi Shang could only laugh. It was as if no one knew how to act shamelessly. When I act shamelessly, even I'm afraid of myself. Shi Shang asked someone to take back Su'er's family's land. Since they didn't pay the rent, then they shouldn't plant it anymore. Su'er naturally wouldn't accept it. Since she couldn't reason with them, she went straight to the Ruan residence. Ruan Xiaoyang, come out. Su'er pounded on the door of the Ruan residence. Her voice was so loud that everyone on the street could hear her. It was still early, and there were only merchants who were preparing to set up their stalls. When they heard that someone was causing trouble in front of the Ruan residence, they all gathered around. Ruan Xiaoyang, come out. Stop pretending to be a coward. Others may be afraid of you, but I, Su'er, am not. Ruan Xiaoyang. When the onlookers heard Su'er's shameless words, they were all curious and whispered to the people next to them. Creak. The door of the Ruan residence slowly opened, and Qiu Shui stood inside with a few servants. Where's Ruan Xiaoyang? Su'er immediately walked inside. Ask her to come out. The servants behind Qiu Shui came out in a line and blocked Su'er's way. Qiu Shui snorted coldly. Su'er, is the Ruan residence a place where you can just barge in? Do you think you can see our miss just because you want to? Su'er was just a girl. How could she be a match for a man? Two servants carried her out of the door. Qiu Shui walked out with small steps and ordered the servants, send her to the magistrate's office. Just say that she's trespassing. Yes. Su'er was dumbfounded. She only started to struggle after being carried down the steps. She shouted loudly, What are you doing? Let go of me, let go of me. Ruan Xiaoyang, come out if you dare. Let go of me. Disperse. Qiu Shui chased away the people outside the Ruan residence. Come on, give me a ticket. Otherwise, I'll punish you severely. Chapter 706. Shi Shang sent Su'er to the yamen. Dugu Xiu received the news and immediately went to the yamen to save her. Dugu Xiu wanted to save Su'er and leave. After all, it was not the right time to expose his whereabouts. Who knew that Su'er would sue Shi Shang? The county magistrate had just been threatened by the prince regent. He did not dare to delay and immediately sent Shi Shang to the yamen. In the original plot, Ruan Xiaoyang could not come back alive. How could this happen? Shi Shang went to the yamen with a gossipy heart. He was curious about what the female lead wanted to sue her for. In the yamen's lobby, Su'er stood in the middle. Dugu Xiu stood beside her. He did not kneel or sit down. The county magistrate sat under the plaque with the words, Justice and Honesty. He looked serious but kept glancing at Dugu Xiu. The Prince Regent was standing under the plaque. The powerful Prince Regent. His legs were weak under the table. Sir. Shi Shang curtsied obediently. Her movements were not standard, but there was nothing wrong with it. After all, she was a girl, and she was quite pretty. She was a delicate girl, so the magistrate could not say anything. Su'er looked up at Shi Shang. Shi Shang turned his head and smiled. His meaning was unclear. Su'er suddenly felt cold all over, as if she was being stared at by a ferocious beast. She broke out in cold sweat. Dugu Xiu had been sizing her up since Shi Shang came in. He had seen all kinds of young ladies in the capital. The shrewish, the spoiled, the well-behaved, he had seen them all. But it was his first time seeing someone like Shi Shang, who was called to the county yamen without the slightest bit of curiosity or panic. She only had a calm face. He had information about the Ruan family. Her parents had died early, leaving her as a daughter and a huge family business. Shi Shang glanced at Dugu Xiu. The male lead was a powerful character. He was an unfavored prince who was sent to the border to become the Prince Regent. Even the emperor had to call him uncle. Shi Shang lowered his head and smiled. The harder it was to pass the game, the more exciting it was. It was more interesting to break the couple. You are not playing games. These people are not NPCs. The system was going crazy. Who is it? The county magistrate forced himself to be calm as he picked up the gavel and asked loudly. Ruan Xiaoyang. She really didn't want to answer this retarded question. The county magistrate pointed at Su'er. Su'er, a villager of Baihe village, is suing you for forcefully taking back her land before the lease contract expired. Is this true? Shi Shang understood that she had been waiting for him here. That's true. Shi Shang nodded. The magistrate looked at Du Guxiu and coughed. Since there is a lease contract and it hasn't expired, why do you want to take back the land? Shi Shang shrugged and said in a relaxed tone, I don't want to rent it anymore. The county magistrate choked. There are laws in our dynasty. If you forcefully take back the land before the lease contract expires, you will have to pay compensation. Shi Shang said calmly, It's clearly written on the lease that you have to pay me rent during the lease period. Su'er can't pay the rent, so why can't I take it back? Su'er immediately retorted, You've already asked the other villagers to slow down. Why do you want my family to pay immediately? Shi Shang rolled his eyes at Su'er. It's my business who I want to slow down. Do you want to force me to slow down? You're being unfair. Damn, what kind of thoughts did the female lead have? Yes, it's unfair. What about it? I don't like you, so I want you to pay now. Shi Shang said arrogantly. I have the land, so I'm the biggest. Bam. The gavel was slammed on the table. The county magistrate frowned and scolded. It's improper to be so noisy in court. Su'er, tell me if you haven't paid the rent. Su'er opened her mouth and her eyes darted around. Not long ago, bandits came and robbed our village of food. Sir, it's not that I don't want to pay, but I really can't. Bandits? Where are they from? Su'er immediately said, They're from Hei Feng Gang. This group of bandits usually wreak havoc in the surrounding villages. This time, they stole so much of our food. Sir, what do you want me to pay? Hei Feng Gang had always been the biggest problem in Baihe County. However, a few days ago, the county magistrate received news that the entire Hei Feng Gang had been burned down. He sent people to the mountains to check, but they hadn't returned yet. He didn't know the exact situation. Miss Ruan, why don't you slow down? The county magistrate hesitated. This was someone that the regent had personally come to ask for. If he didn't speak up for her, wouldn't he offend the regent? Why should I? Shi Shang asked stubbornly. The county magistrate said sternly, Didn't you slow down the rent for the other tenants? It's my business who I want to slow down. Shi Shang snorted coldly. The county magistrate was speechless. The other party was the owner, and it wasn't like they were taking the land for no reason. He couldn't speak blindly, right? Therefore, the county magistrate could only look at Du Guxiu. If you don't want to rent, then don't rent. Who cares about your land? Su'er suddenly said, Ruan Xiaoyang, just you wait. She didn't believe that with her ability, she wouldn't be able to survive in this world. You think I'll wait just because you want me to? Shi Shang sneered, not bothering to hide his sarcasm. How shameless. Even if I wait, you can't do anything to me. You? Du Guxiu pulled Su'er and said ambiguously, Miss Ruan, don't be too ruthless. Shi Shang's eyes curved, and his light voice fell into Du Guxiu's ears. Every word seemed to smash into his heart. Ruthless? You haven't seen how ruthless I can be. Do you want to see it? I guarantee that you'll never forget it. Damn it, she was taking her own things, and she actually called it ruthless. Shi Shang sneered, Since there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. The county magistrate wanted to shout out, How dare you? But Du Guxiu didn't say anything. He could only hold it in and watch Shi Shang leave. She dared to talk to the regent like that. This girl from the Ruan family was really something. The county magistrate looked at Du Guxiu. He couldn't sit still and wanted to slide off the table. There was a saying in the capital. If the regent frowned, there would be millions of corpses. This sentence was an exaggeration, but the extent of the regent's ferocity could be glimpsed. The county magistrate seemed to have seen the end of the Ruan family. Du Guxiu ignored the county magistrate who was scared out of his wits and walked out of the government office with Su'er. You. Su'er looked at the government office behind her, and then looked at Du Guxiu. She hesitated and asked, "Who are you?" She could see that the county magistrate was afraid of him. Since she saved him, she knew that he wasn't an ordinary person. His temperament couldn't be compared to ordinary people. But she only thought of him as a rich man and didn't think of anything else. But today, Suer found that the person she saved was not as simple as a rich man. "I'll tell you later." Suer's heart was itching. "Can't you tell me now?" "No." Suer was disappointed. "Okay then. Who was he?" She couldn't tell him that he was a high-ranking official in the court? Or was he the son of a high-ranking official? Well, he was so young. It was very likely that he was the son of a high-ranking official. God. She even asked him to help her with her work. Suer immediately smiled and said, "Thank you for today. I'll cook something delicious for you when we go back." Asterisk votes. 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 Chapter 707. The news that all the bandits in the Hafing Stockade were burned to death spread slowly. Everyone in the surrounding area was shocked. A malignant tumor was taken care of just like that? All kinds of guesses were spread. 1 spread to 10, 10 spread to 100. In the end, no one knew what the original version was. Everyone thought that it must be a chivalrous hero who couldn't stand the Hafing Stockade's bandits bullying the villagers. Everyone was grateful and worshipped this mysterious hero. If these people knew that the Hafing Stockade was destroyed because Shi Shang didn't want to leave any trouble for himself, what would they think? Shi Shang was the hero and was now listening to Qiu Shui's report about taking back Su Yu's farmland. Su Yu had already said it in front of the county magistrate. Even if she regretted it later, it was too late. She could only return the farmland to the Ruan family. The Su family didn't treat Su Yu well anymore. "All right, miss, have you heard about the Hafing Stockade?" Qiu Shui asked after she finished reporting. Shi Shang lay on the armchair with his eyes closed. His long eyelashes cast a fan-shaped shadow on his fair skin. "Yes." "Miss, who do you think destroyed the Hafing Stockade?" Qiu Shui was very curious. When Miss was captured, she said that she was saved by someone. Could it be the person who saved Miss? Qiu Shui couldn't stop thinking about it. "Me." Shi Shang's light pink lips opened. Bang! A loud sound came from outside, drowning out Shi Shang's voice. Qiu Shui ran to the door to take a look. "What's wrong with you? Be careful. If you can't carry it, get more people." Qiu Shui went out to instruct them. When she was done, she had already forgotten about her question. To Shi Shang, there was only one word to describe the ancient life: boring. Other than eating and sleeping, it was all about eating and sleeping. It was like raising pigs. Oh, and they could go shopping. This dynasty seemed to be quite tolerant of women. Unlike some backgrounds, only married women could walk the streets. Shi Shang walked from one end of the street to the other end and then turned back. "Miss, what are you doing?" Qiu Shui accompanied Shi Shang as he walked back and forth. She was confused. What were they doing on the street? How boring. Shi Shang raised his head and sighed. If the female lead didn't come looking for trouble and had nothing to do, wouldn't she be bored? The corner of Autumn Water's mouth twitched, and she suggested, "I heard that there are a few tea parties recently. Why don't you go take a look, young miss?" "Tea party? Drinking tea? Lead the way." Shi Shang thought for a while and waved his hand. The tea party was a group of scholars competing in poems and couplets in the tea house. Because most of them were young talents, there were also many young ladies from noble families here. The tea house had 2 floors. The noble ladies were on the 2nd floor. The 2nd floor was draped with light gauze to hide the true appearance of these noble ladies. The men were on the 2nd floor. Shi Shang went upstairs and heard a group of girls exclaiming, "I'm afraid that young master he will definitely win today. Young master he is overflowing with talent, but no one can surpass him." Shi Shang followed the girls' gazes and looked down. He happened to see a young man in the middle of a crowd. He looked rather delicate and had a strong scholarly aura. He had a gentle expression as he spoke to the people around him. That's He Ting, the second young master of the He family, Qiu Shui explained to Shi Shang softly. He's been smart since he was young. I heard that he's going to the capital to take the imperial exam next year. The He family's ancestors used to be high-ranking officials. After the change of dynasty, the He family fell to this place and started a silk business. Their family's wealth might not be comparable to the Yuan family's, but the He family ran businesses outside and had a lot of connections. Shi Shang's gaze only paused on He Ting for a few seconds before it landed on the person beside him. Who's sitting beside He Ting? Qiu Shui followed Shi Shang's gaze and looked over. That's the eldest young master of the He family, He Qing. He Qing's health isn't good, so the He family rarely lets him out. It's strange today. From Shi Shang's perspective, he could see that He Qing's complexion was indeed not good. There was a tinge of green in his paleness, as if he was terminally ill. The people around him didn't want to interact with him. Shi Shang asked He Qing alone. He felt that He Qing's gaze was a little strange. It was too empty, as if he was a zombie. Clap, clap, clap. Enthusiastic applause suddenly sounded. Shi Shang retracted his gaze from He Qing and looked at He Ting, who had attracted everyone's applause. He Ting thanked him very politely and turned to help He Qing up to leave. Once He Ting left, the people downstairs dispersed in twos and threes. The ladies upstairs seemed to have lost interest and left the tea house. Shi Shang stood at the same spot, obviously in a daze. Even after they left the tea house, Shi Shang still looked like he was deep in thought. Miss, don't tell me you're interested in the second young master of the He family? Qiu Shui asked tentatively. Miss was about the right age to talk about marriage, so Qiu Shui didn't think much of it. But the He family, they didn't get along well with the Yuan family. The He family would never agree to let the second young master of the He family marry into the Yuan family. Most importantly, the second young master of the He family already had a fiancée. Shi Shang regained his senses and asked, What did you say? I said, Don't you like the second young master of the He family? Qiu Shui lowered her voice and asked, Shi Shang, which eye of yours saw I like the second young master of the He family? Shi Shang rolled his eyes at Qiu Shui and walked back in big strides. When he passed by an alley, Shi Shang suddenly heard a familiar voice. She paused and walked into the alley under Qiu Shui's confused gaze. I didn't agree, and I won't agree. You should look for them for what they did. We don't care. Master bought you. Hurry up and come back with us. Master won't treat you badly. You'll live a good life with Master. What are you unhappy about? Move. So you broke free from those people. I didn't agree. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Ah. You're breaking the law. I'm going to report you. Let go of me. Su Yu had lost her land. The Su family hated Su Yu. Their family was poor to begin with. Now that they lost their land, how were they going to survive? Father Su and Mother Su had the thought of selling Su Yu to someone else. Now that Su Yu was pretty, she could be sold at a much higher price than before. Father Su and Mother Su drugged Su Yu and sent her to the town. When Su Yu found out that she was sold again, she was furious. She could forget about the first time, but now there was a second time. So she ran out when those people weren't paying attention. But before she could run into the street, she was caught up. Shi Shang silently watched the female lead being caught. It was all a trap. There was no such trap in the plot, but the male lead would definitely come to save the damsel in distress. Even if the male lead didn't come, the supporting male lead would come. Who was the supporting male lead? Yes. He Ting was one of the supporting male leads. Miss, it's Su Yu, Qiu Shui said softly when she saw who it was. Shi Shang turned around and walked back. He pursed his lips and said, I don't know her. She's Su Yu? Qiu Shui. Miss, you'll lose me if you do this. Miss, wait for me. Asterisk little fairy. It's cold. Please warm me up. Shy emoji. Chapter 708. Suyu was really saved by He Ting and brought back to the He residence. Suyu didn't want to go back to the Su family, so she became He Ting's personal servant. Because she was literate and seemed to be well educated, the people of the He residence actually didn't reject her and liked her quite a bit. Suyu quickly became familiar with the He residence. He Ting always brought her along when he went out. He Ting either didn't bring anyone with him when he went out, or he brought his servant. He had never brought a personal servant before. This news spread quickly in Baihe County. Everyone said that Suyu was shameless and seduced He Ting. Shi Shang heard about Suyu from these people. Suyu even opened a shop. She said, "What, fragrance what? A perfume shop." Someone added, "I heard that it smells really good when you put it on." TSK, who knows if it's a lie? She's a girl who shows her face in public and doesn't do her job properly. Master, he is really too much. How can he let her do whatever she wants? Didn't they say it was really good? Let's go and take a look. Sure, let's see what Suyu is up to. A few well-dressed girls walked past Shi Shang and walked towards another street. Shi Shang played with the paper fan on the stall. When the girls disappeared, she put down the fan and turned around slowly. Let's go and take a look at the female lead. What female lead? Qiu Shui was confused. Why was Mrs. Words getting more and more mysterious? She couldn't understand. Suyu. Shi Shang knocked on Qiu Shui's forehead. Let's go. Qiu Shui touched her forehead and ran to catch up with Shi Shang. Miss, why did you call Suyu the female lead? What's a female lead? Don't ask nonsense. Qiu Shui's lips twitched. Miss, you're younger than me. Really? Shi Shang thought for a while. The host was younger than Qiu Shui. She pulled a long face and said seriously, "My mental age is older than yours." Qiu Shui was even more confused. What mental age? Miss, what nonsense are you talking about? Why couldn't she understand? Suyu's shop was given to her by He Ting. It was located in the most prosperous area of Baihe County. The rouge shop next to it belonged to the Ruan family. At this moment, the shop assistants of the Ruan family's shop were all standing outside, looking at the crowded shop next door. Ahem. Autumn Water stood beside them and cleared her throat. The two assistants immediately turned around. Miss Qiu Shui. Miss, you're here. Autumn Water turned sideways, revealing the Shi Shang behind her. The two men were shocked and hurriedly bowed. Mississippi, Shi Shang nodded and looked at the crowd next door. Suer's voice could be faintly heard. Shi Shang retracted his gaze and asked the shop assistant, "How long has she been in business?" The waiter bowed. 3 days. How's business? The two men looked at each other and pushed each other. Neither of them were willing to say anything. Qiu Shui immediately pulled a long face. "Young miss asked you a question. Answer truthfully." Yes. On the first day, there were only a lot of onlookers, but she let people try her things. On the second day, there were people buying her things. Today, people came before she opened. One of the assistants took out a small porcelain bottle from his sleeve. We sneaked in and bought a bottle. It smells nice. Shi Shang took the bottle and opened it to smell. The fragrance of lotus flowers wafted into his nose. There was liquid inside and it was a little sticky. When he rubbed it on his hand, it didn't seem sticky after it dried. Instead, it was very smooth. Amazing, my female lead. You can still make something like this in ancient times. Move. A rude scolding sounded from behind the crowd. A few servants separated the onlookers and carried a sedan chair to Suer's shop. Suer was teaching someone how to take care of her clothes when there was a sudden change. She had to come out. "Brother, what's the matter?" Suer looked at the sedan chair and asked in a neither servile nor overbearing tone. "What's the matter? You still have the nerve to ask. What are you selling?" The servant pushed Suer without any explanation. Suer staggered and almost fell to the ground. She endured it. She was the seller now, so she had to smile. "Brother, Is there a problem with my things? What problem? The servant sneered and went to the back of the sedan chair. He pulled a veiled woman and tore off her veil, revealing a face full of red spots. Ah! The girls around covered their mouths and screamed. They all looked away, not daring to look at the woman. The servant pulled the woman and said loudly, "Look, look, this is what happened after using your things." Luckily, it wasn't our young miss who used it. If it was our young miss, how are you going to compensate her? Suer's heart skipped a beat. There shouldn't be a problem with her things. Who would dare to use something like this after using it? What are you thinking? Everyone, look. The servant pulled the woman to show the people outside. Look, this is what happened after using her things. She's not selling anything, she's trying to take someone's life. The girls who had already bought the things were frightened by the woman's red face. They all covered their faces in horror. God, I used it yesterday. Do I have a rash? Help me take a look. I used it too. Do I have a rash? The crowd was in a mess. Suer calmed down and asked to take a closer look at the woman. The servant didn't refuse and let Suer take a look. Young miss, is there really a problem with Suer's things? Qiu Shui tiptoed and looked inside. How would I know? Shi Sheng blew. But looking at her, even if there's nothing wrong with her, there will be a problem in the end. Qiu Shui asked in confusion, "What do you mean?" She'll be envied. It's all a trap. I've already seen the truth. Qiu Shui suddenly understood. In business, if someone was jealous, someone would frame someone. It wasn't like the Ruan family hadn't encountered it before. Suer was so high profile and was so close to He Ting. There must be people who didn't like her. What else do you have to say? The servant's voice sounded again. When did she use my products? Suer couldn't tell how the woman's rash came about. She could only ask about the process. Logically speaking, the things she made were all natural. It was much purer than the cosmetics in the modern world. This shouldn't have happened. Last night, the servant said. Our young miss bought it and let her try it first. She looked like this when she woke up in the morning. Did she eat anything? The servant was impatient. Why are you asking so many questions? She became like this because she used your products. Tell me, what should we do now? Suer's face was calm. I have to figure out the ins and outs of the situation before I can be sure that this lady didn't become like this after using my product. I can't admit that there's a problem with my product before I figure it out. #hashtag black rice flavored tickets today # December 20th, 2016 book review baby, Sinyan. Chapter 709. Ding Quan. A delicate voice like that of an oriole came from the sedan chair that had been silent all this time. A fair hand lifted the curtain of the sedan chair. Miss. Ding Quan greeted her respectfully. The person in the palanquin was wearing a pink dress. She sat upright in the palanquin and her phoenix eyes swept over the people outside. Her eyes were filled with disdain. You can't even solve such a small matter after so long. What's the use of this young miss raising you? She paused and looked at Suer. She snorted in disdain. It's you. Suer recognized the person. Smash it, the woman ordered. The people around the sedan chair immediately rushed into the shop and smashed everything they saw. Stop, what are you doing? Suer wanted to stop them, but she was pushed to the side. She could only watch as the shop was smashed. Who is that? Shi Shang didn't recognize the person in the sedan chair, but the people around him seemed to know her. They looked at the sedan chair with envy and jealousy. She smashed the female lead's shop the moment she arrived. She was definitely a cannon fodder. Miss Ding from the Ding family, Ding Xiang, Qiu Shui answered. She's He Ting's fiancée. Shi Shang understood. No wonder she came here with such fanfare. Everyone in Baihe County knew that Suer and He Ting were close. As his fiancée, she had to do something. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to live up to her status as his fiancée. Miss, I'm done. Ding Quan ran to Ding Xiong's sedan chair to ask for praise. Su'er glared at the two of them angrily. She clenched her fists. Ding Xiong put on the airs of a rich young lady. She raised her chin arrogantly. Su'er, be a good servant. Don't think about these unrealistic things all day. Ding Xiong's words had a double meaning. Su'er naturally understood. She had been punished by an unruly young lady in the He family. The ancient society was full of evil. As a servant, she wasn't worth mentioning at all. Miss Ding. Su'er suppressed the anger that was about to explode. Did you really smash my shop because there's something wrong with my things? She wanted to earn money. She couldn't let Ding Xiong ruin her reputation. Why else? Look at what she has become. My young miss didn't take your life. It's all because my young miss is generous and kind. Ding Quan immediately followed up and pushed the woman out. Her face was covered in rashes, and it made people's hair stand on end. Lilac pinched her handkerchief, covering her mouth as she chuckled. Su'er, what qualifications do you think you have for me to do anything to you? Let's go. The servant who lifted the curtain for Ding Xiong immediately lowered the curtain to block Su'er's line of sight. Su'er's chest heaved up and down as her breathing became chaotic. It was obvious that she was extremely angry. The sedan chair was lifted up and was about to leave. He Ting rushed over with his men and blocked Ding Xiong's sedan chair. Through the crowd, He Ting could see the mess in the shop. He Ting, who had always been gentle, had a cold expression on his face. Miss Ding, may I know why you destroyed my shop? Lilac quickly lifted the curtain of the palanquin. There was no longer any arrogance on her face, only a bashful look. Young Master He. Miss Ding, I'm asking you a question. He Ting ignored Ding Xiong's love. When Ding Xiong heard He Ting's voice just now, she was filled with joy and didn't listen to what he was asking. Ding Quan, who was beside her, immediately went forward to convey the message to Ding Xiong. Ding Xiong's expression changed slightly, and her eyes turned red in an instant. She said aggrievedly, Young Master He, it was Su'er who sold me fake things. Ding Xiong pointed at the veiled woman. Look, she's already in this state. If I used it, how could I face others? He Ting had already heard about what had happened when he came. He glanced at the woman. So many girls have used the things that our heir sold. Why is it that only your servant is in trouble? Ding Xiong's face turned pale immediately. Her lips trembled as she said, Su'er is trying to harm me. No, I have to report this to the authorities. Ding Quan go. Shishang laughed unkindly. This Ding Xiong was quite smart. By saying this, she was magnanimous enough to show that she did not do anything. She could also make Yi Ting feel uncertain and unsure if there was something wrong with Su Yu's item. Out of his protection for Su'er, he definitely wouldn't let Ding Xiong report this to the authorities. As expected, Yi Ting stopped Ding Quan. Young Master He, Su'er definitely doesn't like me. She treated me like that when I went to her residence previously. This time, she did it again. Ding Xiong started crying as she spoke. Her tear-stained face made the men around her feel sorry for her. The matter hasn't been clarified yet. Our heir wouldn't do such a thing. He Ting glanced at Su'er. Su'er shook her head at him, feeling wronged. There was nothing wrong with her things. In the end, He Ting was kidnapped by Ding Xiong. He Ting left 2 people behind to help Su'er pack her things. The onlookers could tell that Ding Xiong was looking for trouble. It had nothing to do with Su'er's things. Hence, after Ding Xiong left, the crowd gradually dispersed. Some people then saw Shishang standing on the steps of the shop next door. Why is Miss Ruan here? What else can it be? Her shop sells rouge and face powder. That person pointed at Su'er's shop. That person immediately understood. Since yesterday, Su'er's shop had been very popular. No one went to the Ruan family's shop. As the head of the Ruan family, it was normal for her to come and take a look. Whoever marries Miss Ruan in the future will have accumulated good karma from their ancestors. That's right. They have so many assets for no reason. If my son wasn't still young, I would definitely send my son into the Ruan family. What are you talking about? Qiu Shui scolded. Those people immediately lowered their heads and quickly walked past Shi Sheng. Qiu Shui glared at their backs and turned to comfort Shi Sheng. Miss, don't listen to their nonsense. They only know how to gossip. Shi Sheng crossed her arms. She didn't look like a rich young lady at all. Instead, she looked like a shrew on the streets. She said arrogantly, "They are right. Whoever marries me in the future will have accumulated good karma from their ancestors." Qiu Shui. The crowd dispersed. Su'er stood in the mess and looked pitiful. The people He Ting left behind started to pack their things silently. They didn't dare to talk to Su'er. "Su'er, all the best." Su'er composed herself and made a cheering gesture. She turned around and met Shi Shang's gaze. Her eyes were very beautiful. They were clear and bright, but she didn't see any human emotions in them. She only saw emptiness. She was clearly looking at her, but she felt like she wasn't looking at her at all. She was only looking at a ball of air. A ball of air that could be seen everywhere. Anger surged in Su'er's heart. These people were all standing high. She was just born into a good family. What was there to be proud of? She blurted out, "Ruan Xiaoyang, are you here to laugh at me?" Update. Update for the rich little princess, Susu. Chapter 710. Do you look like a joke? Shi Shang tilted his head and asked, "If that's what you think, then I can't do anything about it." Su'er's face darkened. "I won't let you look down on me. Ruan Xiaoyang, just you wait. She will definitely be able to live well here. Ruan Xiaoyang, just you wait. If other people could transmigrate, so could she." Shi Shang's eyes curved into crescents. His smile was very faint, like ripples on the surface of a lake. Before it could spread, it had already returned to normal. Under Su'er's confused gaze, Shi Shang turned and left. It wasn't easy to make people look up to you or look down on you. If you had the time to shout slogans, you might as well do something practical. Success was something that had to be done. Su'er's shop still opened in the end. Although Ding Xiang had made a scene, as the female lead, she had the charm of a female lead and quickly gained a new wave of fans. The Ruan family shop was about to close. After the shopkeeper reported to Qiu Shui reported to Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng didn't care. "It's just a shop." Qiu Shui was speechless. "Miss, if old master heard what you said, he would jump out and beat you to death. It wasn't easy to accumulate the family business. How could it be lost just like that? Didn't you say that you couldn't let the Ruan family be lost in your hands?" Shi Sheng had no choice but to change the shop to sell sesame seed cakes. Qiu Shui was speechless. He might as well squander. Why would a good shop sell sesame seed cakes? Then why don't we sell stinky tofu? Did stinky tofu exist in this world? Reality proved that it existed. After all, this was a world created by novels. It was normal to have cannons and planes. The more imaginative the world was, the more wonderful it was. Hence, Shi Shang was nagged by Qiu Shui again. "Miss, don't think about it so casually. Our shop can't be ruined like this." Shi Shang looked innocent. "Then how should we ruin it?" Qiu Shui was speechless. "It's not for you to ruin it. All right, we'll sell stinky tofu." Shi Shang waved his hand. A good rouge shop was changed to sell stinky tofu. This became a hot topic in Baihe County. However, they soon discovered that Su'er's business was getting worse and worse, and it was all because of the stinky tofu next door. "Miss Su, the shop next door sells stinky tofu every day. We can't even do business here." The shop assistant that Su'er had hired complained bitterly. Their shop was originally filled with fragrant aroma, but now, only the smell of stinky tofu was left. Which girl would want to buy things in such an environment? Su'er rolled up her sleeves and gritted her teeth. I'll go talk to them. Su'er walked out of the shop and walked next door aggressively. The waiter next door was frying stinky tofu, and the smell was so strong that Su'er didn't want to go near it. God knows how much she hated this smell. Su'er pinched her nose and walked forward. She looked into the store and saw that there were quite a few people eating. Where's Ruan Xiaoyong? Su'er rushed up the stairs and shouted at the waiter. The waiter skillfully scooped up the golden yellow stinky tofu from the frying pan and placed it on a plate beside him. He didn't even raise his head as he replied, "Of course the young miss is in the residence." Su'er choked. She pointed at the pot of oil and said angrily, "The smell is so strong. It's affecting our business. You can open another shop." This sentence didn't come from the waiter. It came from beside Su'er. She turned her head and saw Shi Shang walking over with autumn water. Su'er glared at Shi Shang and hurriedly went down the stairs. "Ruan Xiaoyang, can't you see me doing well? Do you have to go against me?" Shi Shang glared back at her. "Be reasonable. You're the one who caused my rouge shop to close down first. Survival of the fittest." Su'er was still pinching her nose. Her voice changed a little. "Your rouge shop can't sell because it's not as good as mine. You can make better rouge, but what you're doing now is considered malicious revenge. You said it yourself. Survival of the fittest." Shi Shang threw the words back at Su'er. She couldn't even open her shop anymore. Wasn't it normal for her to change her profession? How could changing her profession be considered malicious revenge? "You." Su'er pointed at Shi Shang. "Fine, just you wait." Su'er flung her sleeves and left. "Miss." Autumn Water looked at Su'er's back view worriedly. Why did she feel like she was going to do something terrible? Shi Shang snorted and didn't answer Autumn Water. He continued walking forward. "Miss Ruan." She had just taken 2 steps when she was stopped by someone. He Ting strode towards her. "Miss Ruan, may I treat you to some tea?" "What for?" Shi Shang was a little fierce. He Ting was shocked. All the rich young ladies he had interacted with were educated and reasonable. They spoke softly and gently. Even Su'er only spoke casually. She wasn't so fierce. It was as if everyone owed her money. "Ahem, it's about the shop," He Ting said. "You're a scholar. Why do you care about the shop instead of studying?" "Miss Ruan." He Ting's mouth twitched. He looked around. "This isn't a good place to talk. Can we go somewhere else?" "No, I'm afraid that you'll do something to me." Shi Shang turned around and put his hands on his hips. "Just say it here. If not, don't say it. Hold it in." He Ting. "Who wants to do something to you?" Autumn Water had a headache. "Miss, Image. You're a rich young lady. Are you going to scold me with your hands on your hips?" He Ting had never interacted with Shi Shang before. He didn't know that he was so difficult to talk to. As a cultured scholar, He Ting couldn't disregard his image like Shi Shang. He took a few steps forward. "Miss Ruan, can you change your shop to something else? Look at you. You're making it impossible for other shops to do business. We're all doing our own business. Why are you interfering with my Ruan family? What are you doing? Which rule says that you can't sell stinky tofu? Which rule says that you can't open a stinky tofu shop here? Since you don't have any, why are you arguing with me? She didn't open a shop in his house. Why are you interfering? If you want to be a hero in front of a beauty, buy the entire street if you have the ability. What's wrong with stinky tofu? Aren't there still people eating it?" He Ting was stunned. This woman, why didn't she act like a rich young lady at all? Mississippi, Autumn Water pulled Shi Shang and frowned. "Keep your voice down. Take care of your image. If this went on, how could Miss get married in the future?" The surrounding citizens all looked in their direction, pointing at them as they discussed in hushed whispers. Su'er probably heard the commotion and ran out of the shop. "Second young master, what are you talking to her about? She doesn't care about other people's feelings. Why should I care about other people's feelings? I have to care about your feelings. Do you think your eyes parents? There are so many people in the world. If you care about other people's feelings, how can you live? Idiot. Sue didn't reply. Her face darkened as she pulled He Ting's sleeve and walked towards the shop. Asterisk update. Update for the nouveau riche, underwear, P.S. What a shameful name. Is there more? It's dark. It's time to dream. Finally, happy winter solstice, don't you want to give me a gift package? Pitiful. Chapter 7:11. Shi Shang was summoned to the court by the yamen early in the morning. Shi Shang yawned and looked confused. These people were so annoying that they wouldn't even let him sleep. There was a woman kneeling in the hall, crying softly. Shi Shang was even more annoyed by her crying and wanted to kill her with his sword. Shi Shang glanced at her and yawned again. Why did you summon me to the yamen? To eat breakfast? Eat breakfast? The county magistrate had a deep impression of Shi Shang. Last time, he dared to give the regent a hard time, and now he was looking down on the court. Bam! The county magistrate slammed his gavel. How dare you? Why don't you kneel in front of me? Are you worthy? Shi Shang rolled his eyes and pointed at a yamen runner. You, bring me a chair. The yamen runner was speechless. Do you think this is an inn and I'm a waiter? How dare you? The county magistrate had wanted to say this for a long time. Ruan Xiaoyang is looking down on the court. Give her 10 paddles first. Without the regent, the county magistrate was much more confident and shouted loudly. Everyone in the hall could hear him. Shi Shang raised his eyebrows slightly. Sir, you dare to hit me? Why wouldn't I dare? The county magistrate was angry. What are you waiting for? Beat her. Shi Shang took out a brick from nowhere and threw it at the county magistrate. It hit the county magistrate's table with a loud sound. The county magistrate leaned back with a funny expression. The whole hall was silent. Even the woman kneeling on the ground stopped crying. Next time, it won't be your table that gets hit, but your head. Shi Shang clapped his hands and took the chair from the private advisor. He moved to the side and sat down like a boss. Why did you summon me? The county magistrate swallowed hard and looked at the brick for a long time. He slammed the table and shouted angrily, Ruan Xiaoyang, do you still have the law in your eyes? How dare you hit me? She even dared to threaten him. Was Ruan Xiaoyang crazy? Shi Shang dug his ears and said fearlessly, I already hit you. What do you want? How is it? Attacking an official of the imperial court is a capital offense. The county magistrate was so angry that he slammed the table. Oh. What are you for? Ruan Xiaoyang, how dare you? Beat her. He didn't believe that he couldn't deal with a troublemaker. However, the private advisor waved his hand and told them not to move. He leaned over and whispered a few words into the county magistrate's ear. The county magistrate's expression kept changing. The Shi Shang raised his head and looked straight at the county magistrate. Do you still want to try him? The county magistrate was about to order his men to beat this unruly citizen, but he choked back his words. He quickly let out 2 heavy breaths. Wait a while before you take care of her. The magistrate straightened his body and slammed the gavel on the table. Madam Sun, what grievances do you have? Speak quickly. Madam Sun, who had just stopped crying, began to sob again, intermittently telling the reason. Her husband, Sun Ergu, did not return home for a long time last night. Worried, Madam Sun went to look for him. On the way home, she found Sun Ergu, who was already dead. Madam Sun immediately reported it to the magistrate. Sun Ergu was last seen at your stinky tofu shop. There are witnesses. The autopsy results also showed that he died of poisoning. Ruan Xiaoyang, what do you have to say? The Shi Shang was silent. She was being implicated even when she was lying down? Where's the physical evidence? The county magistrate waved his hand and someone immediately came up with a tray. This is the residue that was found in the backyard of your shop. It hasn't been cleaned up yet. The Shishang was still calm. Oh. The county magistrate was speechless. You still have the cheek to say, oh? The county magistrate slammed the gavel on the table and questioned in a loud voice, Why did you murder Sun Ergu? The Shishang rolled his eyes. Then you'll have to ask the person who killed him. I didn't even know who Sun Ergu was. Why would I kill him? The county magistrate was burning with anger. Ruan Xiaoyang, how can you talk nonsense in court? There are witnesses and physical evidence. If you confess, you'll be lenient. If you resist, you'll be punished severely. Why did you murder Sun Ergu? I say. The Shishang dragged his words. There were so many people in the shop. Anyone could have poisoned him. Why do you have to say that it was me? Did you take a bribe? Ruan Xiaoyang. The county magistrate shouted. Slandering an official of the imperial court is an additional crime. Why are you so agitated if you didn't do it? If you don't do anything wrong, you won't be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door. Sir, you have a guilty conscience. The Shishang looked at the county magistrate with a faint smile. This county magistrate was not a good person. In the plot, because he took a bribe, he went against the female lead. In the end, his whole family was executed. Ruan Xiaoyang, we're talking about you poisoning him. Don't confuse us. The county magistrate calmed down. Someone saw you poisoning him with his own eyes. Bring a witness. The witness was one of her shop assistants. When he saw the Shishang, he trembled, lowered his head, and knelt on the ground. He told the county magistrate in detail when he saw the Shishang and how she poisoned him. All right, I'll take it that you have a point. The Shishang could roughly guess who the culprit was. You admit to your crime? The county magistrate immediately asked. The Shishang looked at the county magistrate as if he was looking at an idiot. Now there's a very important question. Why did I kill Sun Ergu? Killing a stranger for no reason? Did she have rabies? That's what you should say. I can't make it up. The Shishang spread his hands. You can make one up for me. Or, you can ask the person behind you to make one up for you. Damn idiot. She dared to use a trick that she had already used once. The county magistrate's eyes narrowed. Ruan Xiaoyang, don't talk nonsense here. I won't give you any more face. You murderer. Give me back my husband. Give me back my husband. Madame Sun screamed as she suddenly pounced on the Shishang. A cold glint flashed across the Shishang's eyes. A dagger slipped out of Madame Sun's sleeve. She held the dagger and stabbed it towards the Shishang's chest. The Shishang tilted his body and avoided the dagger. He lifted his leg and kicked her wrist. Madame Sun's wrist hurt and the dagger flew out of her hand towards the county magistrate. The county magistrate was so frightened that he slid down and the dagger stabbed into the chair he was sitting on. Madame Sun didn't give up even though she had failed. She took out a packet of powder from her sleeve and threw it towards the Shishang. While the Shishang was dodging, Madame Sun took out a whip from her waist and lashed it towards the Shishang. The Shishang took out his iron sword and slashed the whip horizontally. A section of the whip immediately broke. While Madame Sun was still in shock, her vision suddenly darkened. Her body flew up uncontrollably and landed on the ground. It was only at this moment that the yamen runners in the lobby started to move. They surrounded Madame Sun and the Shishang. Cough, cough. Madame Sun clutched her chest and spat out blood. She glared at the Shishang murderously. The Shishang sneered. You even know how to hire an assassin. It's not like you haven't improved. The county magistrate was completely dumbfounded. This was not in line with the script. There was no such scene in the script. The Shishang raised his iron sword and walked towards the Madame Sun. The Madame Sun leaned back. There was a hint of panic in her eyes. This woman was different from the people she had met before. She wasn't surprised, panicked, confused, or angry at all. She was so calm and rational that she didn't seem human. Asterisk monthly votes. Monthly votes. Monthly votes. Chapter 712. Side task. Help Dugu-e ascend to the throne. The retarded system suddenly popped out. It probably knew that Shang was in a bad mood, so it quickly issued the task and went offline. He did not know anything. Shang did not stop because of the task issued by the system. He continued to walk in front of Madame Sun and stabbed her with the sword. She was so fast that the bailiffs did not have any time to react. They only reacted when she pulled out the sword. She actually killed someone in the court. The magistrate was so scared that he peed his pants. He hid under the table and trembled. But no one told him that the daughter of the Ruan family was so fierce. Was she still a lady from a noble family? The magistrate did not say anything, and these people did not dare to make a decision. They could only surround Shang. Shang shook the blood off the iron sword and looked calmly at the bailiffs surrounding her. Then, his gaze fell on the magistrate who was hiding under the table. Shang walked towards the magistrate. "Stop her, stop her!" The magistrate shouted from below. Shang waved the bailiffs away and pulled the magistrate out from under the table. He pressed the magistrate onto the table and placed the iron sword on his neck. "Come, tell me, who bribed you? Damn it, there are always idiots who want to harm me." I. The magistrate's neck was cold and his heart seemed to stop beating. His body trembled like a sieve and he could not speak properly. You. Who is it?" Shang smiled faintly and increased the strength of his hand. The magistrate felt that the sharp blade had cut into his skin. His head would be separated from his neck in the next second. Thinking of this scene, the magistrate's eyes rolled back and he fainted. Shang. Damn it, with such courage, he wanted to be a corrupt official? Serves him right to be a magistrate. Shang woke up the magistrate who fainted. The magistrate was so scared that he peed his pants. The smell of urine circulated in the hall. Shang let go of him in disgust and stepped back. "I'll ask you one last time, who bribed you? If you don't tell me, you'll be accompanied by her." Shang glanced at Madame Sun, who was already dead. I'll talk. The county magistrate fell to the ground and said in fear, "It's He Qing, the eldest young master of the He family. He bribed me." He Qing. She had her suspicions before and even got someone to keep an eye on him. However, He Qing's eyes were empty and there was nothing strange about him. What is his ultimate goal? The magistrate was on the verge of tears. "He only asked me to put you in jail. He didn't say anything else. I was wrong. I shouldn't have accepted his bribe. Please forgive me this time. I won't dare to do it again." The county magistrate had promised He Qing back then because He Qing had promised that as long as she went to jail, the Ruan family's assets would all belong to him. That was why he had been possessed and agreed to He Qing. Who would have known that the young miss of the Ruan family was not someone that could be compared to those noble ladies? She was so valiant that she could even threaten the officials of the imperial court. In that case, that Sun Ergu was killed by He Qing? I don't know. The county magistrate shook his head and said with snot and tears, "When we received the report, He Qing sent me the news. He said that it was time to act." "You've been in cahoots for a long time?" Shang looked at the county magistrate. The county magistrate shivered but still nodded. He Qing had told him about this for a while. He was only in charge of sentencing. He Qing told him not to care about anything else. Very good. There was actually a retard plotting to harm her for so long. The county magistrate felt cold all over. What was very good? Shang came out of the yamen. Qiu Shui, who was waiting outside, immediately came forward. "Young miss? Are you okay?" In such a short time, she had already entered the yamen twice. This time it was because of a human life. She didn't believe that her young miss would kill someone. What did her young miss not have? Why would she kill someone she didn't know? What can happen to me? Under the sunlight, the young girl's figure was elegant. It was as though she was covered in a layer of golden light. Her confidence came from her bones. She should be an extremely dazzling person. Qiu Shuai didn't know why this sentence popped up in her mind. Her young miss was no longer the young miss she used to be. Let's go to the He family. Shi Shang walked down the stairs and headed in the direction of the He residence. Qiu Shuai shook her head and jogged to catch up with Shi Shang. Why are you going to the He residence, young miss? To find someone to settle a score. Ah. Qiu Shuai turned around to look at the yamen that was empty. She was confused. Why was she going to the He residence to find someone to settle a score? Was this matter related to the He residence? Qiu Shuai's imagination ran wild. How could the He residence be so vicious? They actually used such a method to deal with the Ruan family. Did they think that her young miss was easy to bully just because she was a woman? The He residence's main door was tightly shut. Shi Shang directly kicked it in. Qiu Shuai was dumbfounded the entire time. When did her young miss become so powerful? The He residence's servants heard the commotion and quickly rushed to the main door. Shi Shang had been hanging out on the streets recently. Many people in the He residence knew him. But why did Ruan Xiaoyang suddenly barge into the He residence? The He family didn't have any conflicts with the Ruan family recently. Miss Ruan, why did you barge into the He residence? The servant blocked Shi Shang in front of the door. Where's He Qing? Young master? The servant was confused. Why are you looking for the young master? She even used such a violent method. Shi Shang's voice was cold. Where is he? The servant who spoke also had a cold expression. Miss Ruan, don't go overboard. They had already given her a lot of face, but she didn't know when to stop. Shi Shang forced his way in and met He Ting and Su Yu, who had rushed over after hearing the news. The male lead had probably returned to the capital. He hadn't appeared by the female lead's side recently. Miss Ruan. He Ting stopped Shi Shang. He glanced at the group of servants who were lying on the ground and wailing. Anger gradually appeared on his gentle face. Why did Miss Ruan come to the He residence to hit people? Didn't old Master Ruan teach you etiquette when he was alive? No. Shi Shang lied frankly. He Ting choked. His face was stiff as he asked, What's the matter, Miss Ruan? Shi Shang poked the ground with his iron sword. I'm looking for He Qing. Is this how you find people? When I looked for you before, you said that I was trespassing and sent me to the officials. Ruan Xiaoyang, aren't you trespassing now too? Su Yu was a little angry. This woman had too many double standards. Go and report me, Shi Shang said arrogantly. Su Yu said to He Ting, second young master, report it to the officials. He Ting frowned. Then he nodded and asked someone to report it to the officials. Shi Shang rolled his eyes and didn't stop that person. Where is He Qing? He Ting sized up Shi Shang. Why are you looking for my elder brother? Shi Shang's face was cold. Private matters. My elder brother's health isn't good. He's not receiving guests. He Ting's tone was cold. Miss Ruan, if you leave the He residence now, I won't pursue this matter. Let's not make things too ugly. Asterisk He Qing, a pervert came to find me. I'm scared. Hurry up and hide. Little fairy, give me the ticket and I'll let you hide. He Qing. Take out ticket. I'll give it to you, I'll give it to you. Hurry up and help me stop her. Little fairy, you're so scared of my daughter. TSK, TSK. He Qing, angry. It's all because of you, my stepmother. Cherub. Stepmother. System notification. Little fairy has gone offline. The ticket can be retrieved from 02222. Chapter 713. The people from the government office didn't dare to come. After the people from the He family reported to the government office, they came back dejectedly. The government office said that they had a case to settle and didn't have time to settle the civil dispute. They asked them to settle it themselves. Shi Shang had already searched the entire He family but couldn't find He Qing. He Qing wasn't even in the He family. He wasn't even in the He family. Ruan Xiaoyang, you're too much. He Ting followed behind Shi Shang. As a scholar, he couldn't scold people. He could only say these words over and over again. Su'er followed behind He Ting and said a few words occasionally. But she always added flowers to the brocade and made He Ting hate Shi Shang even more. Shi Shang was annoyed. I'm too much? Your brother hired someone to kill I. Isn't that too much? He Ting thought he heard wrong. What did you say? I said your brother hired someone to kill me. Do you understand? Idiot. Shi Shang strode out of the He family. Qiu Shuai was also shocked by this sentence. After a while, she chased after Shi Shang with a pale face. He Ting only regained his senses after Shi Shang's figure disappeared around the corner. He looked at Su'er. She just said that my brother hired someone to kill her? I think so. Su'er nodded. She was usually with He Ting in the He family and rarely saw this eldest young master. But she heard from the people in the He family that this eldest young master had a good temper. Because of his poor health, he rarely went out. Why would he suddenly hire someone to kill her? Or Ruan Xiaoyang? Impossible. He Ting shook his head and chased after Shi Shang. He didn't believe that his brother would hire someone to kill her. He Ting chased after Shi Shang outside the door and blocked her way. His face was serious. Miss Ruan, explain clearly. Why would my brother hire someone to kill you? Shi Shang touched her face. Because I'm as pretty as a flower and rich. He Ting. How could he believe such a reason? He took a deep breath and warned her seriously, Miss Ruan, don't talk nonsense without solid evidence. This is a false accusation. My brother has no grudge against you. He wouldn't do such a thing. Shi Shang was amused and asked, how do you know that there is no enmity between us? My eldest brother has never left the He Manor, let alone have any interactions with Miss Ruan. Miss Ruan, why don't you tell me, what enmity could my eldest brother have with you? Shi Shang said calmly, you can become enemies even if you haven't met him before. He Ting. How can you start a feud if you haven't met him before? He had never heard of such a thing. Miss Ruan, your words are too far-fetched. Forgive me for not believing you. What does it have to do with me whether you believe me or not? Do I want you to believe me? Shi Shang pushed him away and whispered into He Ting's ears, if there's nothing wrong with your brother, why would he run away? He Ting had seen his elder brother before, but in the blink of an eye, his elder brother had disappeared. Naturally, he still did not believe Shi Shang's words. He went back and sent people to look for He Qing, but he could not find He Qing even after turning the entire He residence upside down. The people who served He Qing did not know where he went. He Qing seemed to have evaporated into thin air. Qiu Shuai followed Shi Shang back to the residence in a daze. Her expression was still ugly. Her voice was trembling. Miss, did He Qing really hire someone to kill you? Yes. Wasn't he hiring someone to kill her? What enmity do you have with He Qing? Qiu Shuai and He Ting had the same question. Her miss had only seen He Qing once at the tea house that day and had never seen him again. What enmity could she have with He Qing? Maybe we had enmity in our previous lives. Shi Shang rubbed his forehead. Get someone to prepare hot water. I want to take a bath. Also, find someone trustworthy. It must be someone who is especially trustworthy. Qiu Shuai wanted to ask more, but seeing that Shi Shang was tired, she nodded slightly. I'll go now. The hot water was sent over quickly. Shi Shang soaked in the hot water and thought about the mission that the system had given him. Dugu Yi was the brother of the current emperor. He was 22 years old and was given the title of Lord Pingnan. However, he did not have any land and was imprisoned in the capital. The person who imprisoned him was Prince Regent Dugu Xiu. Dugu Yi was the heir to the throne. However, because of Dugu Xiu's interference, He helped the current emperor ascend the throne, and Dugu-e was only given the title of lord. In the plot, Dugu-e was a very smart person. He had been trying to protect himself. In the end, when Dugu-shio ascended the throne, he was still the Lord Pingnan. It was not difficult for such a person to ascend the throne. The problem was, why did the system want her to help such a person ascend the throne? It's just a mission. Don't think too much. No one wants to harm you. Is that so? Do you think I can still lie to you now? It wanted to, but could it lie to her? She seemed to have listened to what it said in the past. However, she did not listen to it at all. She did not believe it at all. You're becoming more self-aware. Shi Shang nodded approvingly. This was what a qualified system should be like. It was waiting for its master to come back. Bear with it, bear with it. I said in the beginning that these planes were all destroyed. Dugu-shio no longer has the right to become the emperor. The scripts I read are actually useless now, right? Ever since the Battle Royale, the scripts had basically become decorations. Other than the immortality of the male and female leads, the plot had changed. Although the plot had changed, the biggest change was caused by you. Don't push the blame to others. The system explained sullenly. You can say that the scripts only give you a rough understanding of this world. The characters in the scripts have already been destroyed. The plot will also change. Now, there was an unknown virus in it. The plot was even more unpredictable. Thinking of that virus, the system was even more sullen. What kind of antivirus did its master install on it? It could not even catch the shadow of the virus. It could not even beat its host. What was the use of it? Shi Shang nodded. You can leave now. I'm so angry that I want to cry. Master, if you don't come back soon, you may not see me again. Shi Shang came out of the bath. Autumn Water was already waiting in the study with someone. Shi Shang went to the study and asked Autumn Water to write a letter for him. Her handwriting was like a dog's scrawl. She could not even recognize it. After Autumn Water finished writing, she picked up the letter, blew on the ink, and handed it to Shi Shang. Miss, do you think this will do? Shi Shang glanced at it. Yes. She folded the letter, put it in an envelope, and handed it to the person waiting in the study. Send this letter to Master Fan. Remember, you must hand it to Master Fan personally. Miss, don't worry. I've seen Master Fan. I'll definitely deliver the letter safely. Go. Okay. After the person left, Autumn Water asked her question. Miss, why are you writing to Master Fan? Master Fan was a friend of Master Fan. He had visited twice before. Autumn Water remembered that he was a very kind person. I'm going to rebel. Cough, cough. Autumn Water choked on her saliva. She quickly looked out the door and said in a low voice, Miss, don't joke around. You'll be executed. Shi Shang rolled his eyes at Autumn Water. Who's joking with you? Asterisk system. Master, I've been poisoned. Your antivirus software is pirated, right? System owner. Nonsense, that's the real deal. System. Then why am I poisoned? System. Maybe the version is too low. System. Then upgrade it for me. System. Let Shi Shang upgrade it for you. System. It will only destroy me. System. Chapter 714. Regarding Shi Shang's intention to rebel, Qiu Shuai felt that her young miss was lying. They hadn't even gone to the capital. How could they rebel? Qiu Shuai repeatedly told Shi Shang not to say anything. If this got out, the entire Ruan Manor would be in trouble. Qiu Shuai realized that her mistress did not do anything strange after she said those words. Only then did she feel relieved. Her mistress's words had been a little crazy recently. She did not know if it was because she was frightened by the bandit kidnapping last time. Should she call a doctor for her mistress? Yes, she had to. Qiu Shuai went to call the best doctor in the county. She asked the doctor to take Shi Shang's pulse as a precaution. In the end, she only got a few words. Miss Ruan was in good health. There was nothing wrong with her. The more Qiu Shui thought about it, the more she felt something was wrong. Where did her mistress's sword come from? When did her mistress become so powerful? She had been serving her mistress since she was young, but she never knew she had such skills. Shi Shang, who was under suspicion, was under Qiu Shui's 360-degree surveillance. She wanted to find something strange about Shi Shang. However, Shi Shang basically ate and slept when he had nothing to do. Otherwise, he would stay in the study. He didn't ask about the manor or the shop. Qiu Shui's gaze changed. She walked slowly to Shi Shang's side. "Mistress, don't ask me anything. I might not tell you even if you ask." Shi Shang didn't even look up. Qiu Shui widened her eyes. How did her mistress know what she was going to ask before she asked? Well, her mistress seemed to be quite mysterious recently. Qiu Shui could only suppress her doubts and think about it in secret. Shi Shang was waiting for news from Sir Fan. However, the capital was too far away. It would take at least a month for him to go back and forth. By the time Shi Shang received Sir Fan's letter, more than a month had passed. The situation in the capital was tense. The emperor wanted to get rid of Dugu Xiu. The last time Dugu Xiu was stranded here, he was chased by the emperor. Dugu Xiu had returned to the capital, but he didn't have a falling out with the emperor. They didn't seem to have anything out of the ordinary, but they had secretly fought many times. Whatever Fan Xian told the Shi Shang must have been irrelevant. As for Shi Shang's question about Dugu Yi, Sir Fan only used 4 words to answer that he had disappeared. Dugu Yi is not in the capital? Where did he go? Dugu Xiu actually allowed Dugu Yi to leave the capital? Or did Dugu Yi secretly leave the capital while Dugu Xiu was being chased by the emperor? Shi Shang felt that the latter was more likely. Shi Shang sighed. How am I supposed to push Dugu Yi onto the throne when the emperor is so far away? Su'er had been having a hard time recently. Ding Xiang had cried in front of the elders of the He family, saying that He Ting and Su'er were too close. Su'er had been chased out of the He family residence by the He family, and the shop had been taken back by the He family. He Qing was locked up in the residence and was not allowed to go out. Lilac proudly showed off in front of Su'er. This was not the time for her to be unlucky. The Su family actually came to find her again, saying that her sister was seriously ill and begging her to go back and take a look. Su'er had a good impression of her sister, who was in the same situation as her. Under the Su family's cries, her heart softened and she went back. When she went back, she found that it was not her sister who was seriously ill. It was because the Su family had rented land from another landlord with the surname Li. They did not have enough manpower, so they asked her to go back. Su'er's little money was also taken away by her mother. When her sister cried again, Su'er could not bear to leave even if she wanted to. Su'er could only continue to farm at home. At this time, Shi Shang had already gone to the capital alone. The prosperity of the capital was not something a small county like Baihe County could compare to. She could be said to be the richest person in Baihe County, but when she came to the capital, she found that she was actually still a peasant. Eating Earth Shang found an inn to stay in, and at the same time, he inquired about gossip. Inns, restaurants, and tea houses were always the best places to listen to gossip. I heard that the Prince Regent is going to marry the Northern General's daughter. Is it true? Shi Shang supported his chin with his hand as he listened to the 2 people next door talk. His expression was a bit strange. Dugu Xiu was going to marry a concubine? He did not want the female lead anymore? Why not? I have a relative working in the general's residence. I heard that the betrothal gifts are going to be sent soon. Is it true? Who is he marrying? I think it's the eldest daughter of the general's residence. Why not the second daughter? There were 2 daughters in the northern general's residence. The eldest daughter was not as famous as the second daughter, but it was said that the eldest daughter had a good temper. As for the specifics, they, as commoners, did not know. That person lowered his voice and said, the second daughter is going to enter the palace. Don't go out and talk about this. If people know, then... I know. Don't you know what kind of person I am? Let's just talk about it. But entering the palace? The northern general has a good idea. One will marry the prince regent, and the other will enter the palace. When the time comes... Sure enough, a few days later, the news of the prince regent sending betrothal gifts to the northern general's residence spread widely. When the betrothal gifts were sent, Shi Shang even went to watch. It was a big scene. Just as Dugu Xiu entered the residence, the emperor's imperial edict arrived. It was an imperial edict announcing that the second daughter of the general's residence would enter the palace as a concubine. The emperor's people and the prince regent's people blocked the entrance. No one wanted to give way to the other. In the end, it was the general of the northern army who came out to smooth things over. The wedding was set for half a month later. The emperor and the prince regent probably had a confrontation. The wedding was set on the same day. This matter became the topic of conversation after dinner. Shi Shang went out of the inn and prepared to go to the palace to see what the emperor looked like. The emperor was the biggest villain, so maybe it would be Feng Ci? Just as Shi Shang was approaching the palace, he saw a familiar figure from the corner of his eye. But when he looked carefully, he did not see it. Shi Shang frowned and chased in that direction. Shi Shang chased for a while and stopped. He touched his chin. Did he see wrongly? Miss Ruan. Shi Shang looked up at the source of the voice. Dugu Xiu came down from a nearby restaurant with two people. Dugu Xiu was wearing a black brocade robe. He had long and narrow eyebrows, sharp and wise eyes, and thin lips. He did not hide the aura of a superior. An invisible pressure was emitted from his body. Prince Regent, Shi Shang said with a smile. His attitude was very casual. He was not scared by the aura of the Prince Regent at all. Dugu Xiu frowned slightly. Why is Miss Ruan here? She knew that he was the Prince Regent. When he was in Baihe County, he did not expose his identity. Dugu Xiu did not know how long she had been in the capital, so he was not sure if she knew after she came to the capital. So, he did not ask. Why can't I be here? You speak as if you own the capital. Impudent! Dugu Xiu's people shouted and glared at Shi Shang. Chapter 7:15. Shi Shang really wanted to show him what it meant to be presumptuous. But he caught a glimpse of that figure flashing past the corner of the street. Shi Shang ignored Dugu Xiu and quickly chased after her. Dugu Xiu raised his hand to stop his subordinate from chasing after her. Your Highness. The subordinate didn't understand. This woman was so disrespectful to the prince. How could he let her run away? Dugu Xiu narrowed his eyes and looked at the street where Shi Shang had disappeared. Send someone to follow her and see what she's up to. He had a feeling that this woman wasn't simple. She didn't seem like a rich young lady trapped in a small county. She seemed more like someone who had seen a lot. There was always a kind of confidence in her, a confidence that bordered on arrogance. It was as if there was nothing in this world that she couldn't do. Dugu Xiu had never seen such a strange woman. Yes. The subordinate chased after Shi Shang. Shi Shang didn't catch up with that person. He ran to the busiest and busiest street. Shi Shang instantly lost track of her. Shi Shang put his hands on his hips and sighed slightly. This game was getting more and more interesting. It was much more interesting than those stupid planes. Host, please correct your attitude. This isn't a game. The system didn't want to remind her because it was useless. This isn't a virtual plane? Yes. Then why isn't it a game? I actually have no words to refute. Shi Shang turned and walked towards the palace. Entering the palace might be difficult for others, but for Shi Shang, it couldn't be any easier. Shi Shang found his way to the imperial study where the emperor was. There were people guarding outside. Shi Shang went to the back, knocked out the guard, and opened the window to look inside. The first thing he saw was a group of women swaying their hips and the sound of traditional Chinese instruments. A man wearing a bright yellow dragon robe was sitting crookedly on the dragon throne. He was a little fat and it was hard to tell if he was handsome or not. He hugged women on both sides and enjoyed the service of beauties. Shi Shang. Damn. The emperor was really something. The prince regent was about to rebel, yet he was still in the mood to do such things in the imperial study. It had always been rumored that the emperor was licentious and had a harem of 3,000 beauties. It was quite impressive that such a retard could be the emperor for so many years. Shi Shang waited outside for a while. He was probably tired from playing. The emperor escorted the beauties to the back to rest. As for what to do, Shi Shang didn't want to say anything more. Based on this point alone, she was certain that this fellow was definitely not Feng Ci. Shi Shang shook his head and left the imperial study. There were not many people in the imperial palace. Shi Shang was not afraid of being seen, so he swaggered around the imperial palace. Even if someone saw her, no one would suspect her since she was swaggering through the streets. There were many people in the palace to begin with. Sometimes, the children of ministers would enter the palace as well. It was normal for some people they didn't know to appear. In a few days, the one from the residence of Zhenbei will enter the palace. I'm afraid we'll fall out of favor again. On a small path in the distance, a few people slowly appeared. Behind them were quite a few palace maids and eunuchs. Looking at their posture, they were probably the imperial concubines of the palace. The imperial concubine to the side comforted the woman at the very front. His Majesty likes the new and quickly gets tired of the old. She won't be favored for long. Big sister imperial concubine Li, you have a prince. What are you afraid of? That's right. His Majesty is still young. Liking the young and beautiful is understandable, but it's different when it comes to imperial children. Big sister imperial concubine Li, you have a guarantee. How could it be like us? Imperial concubine Li was a little happy to be praised by these imperial concubines, as she pursed her lips into a smile. Shi Shang watched this group of people walk away and shook his head with a strange expression. Did any of these people truly like the emperor? Perhaps there were very few. What they liked was glory and wealth, or perhaps they were forced into the palace and forced to fight for a man's favor. Shi Shang left the imperial palace and slowly walked in the direction of the inn. Although the emperor was a good-for-nothing, he had the support of old officials. It was just that they had been weakened by Dugu Xiu over the past few years. It was possible that the emperor's faction was already lacking. Then the one she needed to deal with was Dugu Xiu. The male lead, Shi Shang walked and stopped. His speed was very slow, and the people following behind him were all anxious for him. If you want to leave, then leave. If you don't want to leave, then don't leave. What's the point of walking and stopping? Just as he was about to go crazy, the person in front of him suddenly disappeared without a trace. He was shocked and quickly looked around. There was no place to hide on this street, and she shouldn't have been that fast. In the blink of an eye, she had disappeared. Looking for me? A light voice suddenly sounded above his head. He looked up and saw a young girl sitting on an iron sword that was floating in the air. Her legs were slightly swaying, and with the light behind her, he couldn't clearly see her expression. The night wind blew past, blowing her hair. The dark clouds above his head slowly dispersed, revealing the bright moon. The moonlight scattered down, revealing her face clearly in front of him. She was a very beautiful girl. Her face was the size of a palm, her eyebrows were curved, and the corners of her mouth were slightly curved. You. That person directly fell out of the darkness. Was this a person or a ghost? Or a demon? How could a sword be floating in the air? Shi Shang jumped down from the iron sword and slowly approached that person with the iron sword. Why did Dugu Xiu send you to follow me? The male lead, you look down on people too much. You sent such a retard to follow I. Hearing Shi Shang's question, that person's scalp exploded. He trembled and said, I don't know what you're talking about. I was just passing by. I didn't see anything. Let me go. When necessary, he had a special way to save his life. Let you go? Shi Shang sneered. Are you dreaming? The iron sword was raised and slashed towards that person. That person only felt a terrible chill pressing down on him. His body was frozen and couldn't move. The cold light gathered into a ball of light, magnifying in his eyes. Regent's residence. Dugu Xiu stood under the corridor. The moonlight separated the courtyard and the corridor into two worlds. Your Highness, the person who followed Yuan Xiaoyang is dead. The person kneeling behind Dugu Xiu reported in a low voice. The space was silent. A gust of night wind blew, and the leaves in the courtyard rustled. The shadow on the ground also swayed, like a demon baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. After a long time, Dugu Xiu's voice sounded, How did he die? A sword to the throat. Where did she go today? That person quickly replied, She went around the palace for a while and disappeared for a while. Our people couldn't follow her. Later, she appeared outside the palace again. The people who followed her were already dead when they found her. She was nowhere to be found. There was another silence. The person kneeling carefully raised his head and looked at the tall figure standing in front of him. Your Highness. Dugu Xiu raised his hand. Let the shadow go. Do we need to send the shadow? That person was surprised. Dugu Xiu raised his head. His determined voice sounded in the silent corridor, Kill with one blow. He felt danger from Yuan Xiaoyang. Dangerous things must be eradicated. #hashtag today's loofah-flavored vote #cast your vote, monthly votes, let's go. It's up to you to send me on the list. Good night, everyone sleep early. Chapter 716. Shi Sheng didn't stay in the same inn as before. Instead, she sat alone in the shadow of the roof where she could see the inn but not others. At about 3 o'clock in the morning, Shi Sheng saw a few black figures coming from afar and stopping around the inn. Shi Sheng held her face in her hands as she watched them burn down the inn. Everyone was still guarding the perimeter of the inn. Anyone who ran out was killed without exception. No wonder the system said that the male lead was no longer qualified to be the emperor. He would rather kill 1,000 innocents than let one go. This wasn't the male lead's style. The male lead could be ruthless, but he had to be ruthless to his enemies. Shi Sheng took out her sword. Let's save the world, the sword of salvation. You should be thankful that you didn't destroy the world, but now you want to save the world? Host, is your syndrome acting up again? Iron sword. My name was changed again. This name is so lame. Shi Sheng charged over with her sword in hand. But before she reached her destination, the inn suddenly exploded with a bang. A wave of heat washed over her from the front, bringing with it sparks. Shi Sheng choked on the hot air. The surrounding buildings couldn't withstand the heat wave and collapsed. The wood fell on Shi Sheng. *CK. I just wanted to show off. Shi Sheng quickly retreating to a safe place before she started cursing. Damn it, I haven't even appeared, and I'm already defeated? Why did it have to explode now of all times? My luck is acting up again. Pretentious Shi Sheng was about to retreat silently. When she turned around, she didn't know when someone was standing behind her. The person was looking at her. Shi Sheng could only see the outline of a man. You're so cruel. Shi Sheng looked at him from head to toe. She didn't know him at all, and he wasn't Feng Ci either. She made up a random story. Dugu. Miss, you know me? The man was surprised and said narcissistically, Well, there aren't many girls in the capital who don't know a handsome young man like me. Shi Sheng. Haha, you're right. A person who appeared in this place must be related to the plot. Was this the narcissist who was about to ascend the throne? Shi Sheng rolled his eyes and walked toward the alley next to him. I don't want such a retarded person to be the emperor at all. It was better not to do the quest. Host, can you please complete the mission properly? The system was crying in the toilet. You don't want to do the mission just because you're unhappy. Shi Sheng did not care about the system. She would not do anything that did not go her way. She was not a masochist. Dugu actually followed her. Miss, how can you be so ruthless? Those people are innocent. What does it have to do with me? Shi Shang retorted. Hadn't she always been so heartless? Besides, she didn't kill those people. It was the male lead who did it. She wasn't going to take the blame. They're here for you. How is it none of your business? Shi Sheng paused. Dugu didn't stop in time and almost hit the Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng looked at Dugu. Dugu felt a little uncomfortable. He crossed his arms and stepped back, as if Shi Shang would do something to him. Shi Shang was speechless. This retarded person. How did you know they're here for me? This prince naturally has his own channels. Dugu suddenly flicked his sleeves. He changed his retarded appearance and pretended to be an expert. Miss, I see that you have a good constitution. Do you want to work for this prince? Wasn't the line of having a good constitution followed by a martial arts prodigy? Why did it end with a question of whether to work for him? Do you think I'm an idiot? Shi Shang smiled enigmatically. You're being suppressed by Dugu Xiao. What can I do if I work for you? Who doesn't know how to act pretentious? I am the ancestor of the pretentious world. Dugu Yi's mouth twitched. Miss, you've offended the regent. You won't have a good ending. Follow this prince and this prince can save your life. Shi Shang glanced at Dugu and said indifferently, Submit to Dugu Xiao? Dugu Why is this girl's word so unpleasant? What does she mean by submitting? He's adapting to the situation. Dugu seemed to want to pull Shi Shang into his group. He blindly followed Shi Shang. What do you want? This Dugu inexplicably pestered him. Is he crazy? Don't be agitated, don't be agitated. Dugu comforted Shi Shang and straightened his face. Miss, are you from the Yuan family? Shi Shang frowned. Alarm bells rang in his heart. He turned and ran. There's definitely a hidden plot. I'm not going to do it. Dugu was confused. Why are you running? Shi Shang got rid of Dugu and stepped on the iron sword to leave the capital. When the host is willful, no one can compare. Shi Shang stayed in the capital for a while. When he returned to Baihe County, it was already covered in white snow. Shi Shang ran back to the Yuan residence. Qiu Shui had been worried about Shi Shang. Seeing that he came back safe and sound, her heart that was in her throat finally calmed down. Miss, did anything happen on the way back? Qiu Shui looked at Shi Shang anxiously. At first, she didn't agree with Miss going to the capital alone. However, Miss actually left a letter and left secretly. She sent people to chase after her, but they couldn't catch her. Shi Shang shook his head. I'm fine. That's good. Miss, you're the head of the Yuan family. Don't do such things in the future. If something really happens, what will happen to the Yuan residents? Shi Shang. Wouldn't you be able to become the head of the household? Shi Shang threw this indecent thought away. What happened recently? Qiu Shui immediately became serious. There are a few things that are related to Suyu. The villagers of Baihe village don't farm our fields. They followed Suyu to the Li family's fields. I don't know what agreement Suyu made with the Li family, but she only took 30% of their rent. Suyu also cooperated with someone in the county and opened a restaurant called Roast Duck. The business is very good. Shi Shang, a must-have for transmigration novels, Roast Duck. Roast duck had existed since ancient times and was popular in every dimension. Miss, there's no one farming in Baihe village. What will happen next spring? Qiu Shui was a little worried. Baihe village had a lot of land. If there was no one farming, it would be barren. Shi Shang pursed his lips. Hire people to farm it. Hire people? We'll talk about it when the time comes, Shi Shang waved his hand. Anyway, it's okay if it's empty. Our family doesn't lack that bit of money. Shi Shang sighed. Baihe County was indeed more suitable for showing off. In a place like the capital, One had to calculate every little bit of money. Cho Shui. Hashtag my miss always wants to squander hashtag while Su Yu's life was getting more and more prosperous, Shi Shang was holed up in the Ruan residence. He didn't leave the house at all. The winter in Baihe County was very cold. In this world without heating or air conditioning, Shi Shang only wanted to kill himself and go back home. No matter what he did, he would wear a ball. Even moving his arms was tiring. Chapter 717. Shi Shang didn't move much during the entire winter. Spring was coming. Baihe County, which had been quiet for a long time, gradually became lively again. Suer's roast duck restaurant had already opened its second branch. Shi Shang had asked someone to buy the roast duck and try it. It didn't taste very good, but it was definitely delicious compared to the food in ancient times. Now, if you wanted to eat Suer's roast duck, you had to make an appointment. Miss, Suer wants to take over our restaurant in the east of the city. Cho Shui walked in angrily. Shi Shang rocked his taffy chair and ate the exquisite snacks. He asked casually, "Which restaurant?" "The restaurant in the east of the city." Cho Shui walked in front of Shi Shang. "If you don't want to take over, just give it to her." Shi Shang stuffed the last bit of snack into his mouth. "Miss." Cho Shui raised her voice. "We also want to take over that restaurant. The contract is about to expire in a month." Suer got the news from somewhere and went to talk to the owner. Now, the owner wants to give the restaurant to Suer. Shi Shang. Female lead. "Hey. I haven't done anything to you recently. Why do you want to get into trouble? How's the business?" Shi Shang sat up straight. "It's pretty good. It's one of the top few restaurants in our restaurant. There was a lot of traffic there. Also, they hired skilled chefs. The monthly income was considerable." Shi Shang asked Cho Shui to meet with the owner. However, the owner refused to meet with Shi Shang. In other words, he didn't want to rent the restaurant to her, no matter how much money she offered. Shi Shang went to find the owner personally. When he reached the door, he saw Suer and a man coming out. The two of them were chatting happily. The man sent Suer to the door and returned to his residence. Suer hummed a tune as she walked down the stairs. When she saw Shi Shang standing not far away, she raised her eyebrows at Shi Shang. "Ruan Xiaoyang, you're late." Shi Shang looked at her and didn't say anything. He turned and left. It was Suer's ability to deal with the owner. Suer felt like she was punching cotton. She was a little frustrated. This Ruan Xiaoyang, she always looked down on her. "Just you wait." "Oh, miss, someone is looking for you?" As soon as Shi Shang returned to the mansion, he was informed by the servants of the Ruan mansion that someone was looking for her. "Who is it?" "I don't know him. From his accent, he seems to be from Beijing." The servant shook his head. Beijing. A few figures flashed through Shi Shang's mind, but he didn't know who they were. He followed the servant to the living room. When she saw who it was, she just wanted to throw the person out. The man in the living room was holding a cup of tea and blowing on the floating tea leaves. There was light and shadow coming in from outside. He raised his head slightly and a smile immediately appeared on his handsome face. He put down his teacup. "Miss Ruan, I trust you have been well since we last met?" Shi Shang walked in expressionlessly. "What are you doing here?" "I'm not interested in any hidden plot or whatnot." "Miss Ruan, you're really hard to find." Dugui sighed and said, "I came all the way here to find you, and my legs are about to break. If you don't give me a smile, at least give me a greeting, right?" After that night, she seemed to have disappeared and couldn't be found. Not only was he unable to find it, but Dugu Xiu's men were also unable to find it. When he finally found it, she had a look of disdain on her face. Don't ask him how he could see the disdain on her expressionless face. He just saw it. Shi Shang raised his eyebrows slightly and asked righteously, "Did I ask you to find me?" "Dugu-yi, why are you looking for me?" Dugu-yi coughed and said seriously, Duguxiu's men have come to Baihe County. He seems to be here too. Why are you looking for me? Shi Shang's tone became more serious. Did he need to specially come here to remind Duguxiu that he was here? They were not relatives and had only met once. I'm here to recruit talents. Recruit your head. Shi Shang ordered people to throw Dugu Yi out. She didn't want to see this idiot for even a minute. Miss Ruan, have you heard? Hey, wait, Miss Ruan, listen to me. Dugu Yi was thrown out of the Ruan residence. The door closed in front of him, almost pinching his nose. Dugu Yi touched his nose and knocked on the door. Open the door. Ruan Xiaoyang, open the door. Dugu Yi knocked on the door for a long time, but no one opened the door for him. No one paid attention to him. After knocking for a while, Dugu Yi probably felt bored and left the Ruan residence. However, Dugu Yi was a person who didn't want to give up. He came to the Ruan residence every day to report. Soon, the people of Baihe County were spreading the news. Dugu Yi was handsome and well-dressed. Some of the girls in Baihe County gathered to watch Dugu Yi. Young master, I saw that you've been guarding the Ruan residence for a few days. Does Ruan Xiaoyang owe you money? Someone asked Dugu Yi curiously. No. Dugu Yi knocked on the door while answering. He didn't look at who asked the question. If she doesn't owe you money, why are you guarding the Ruan residence all day? I'm looking for Ruan Xiaoyang. The person who asked the question replied ambiguously and said sweetly, Young master, what do you think of me? Although my family can't be compared to Ruan Xiaoyang, I can guarantee that you won't have to worry about food and clothing. Dugu Yi was confused. He turned his head and was frightened by the big flat face in front of him. He stepped back and leaned against the door with a pale face. The girl with a very fat body was looking at him shyly. Young master. Dugu Yi swallowed with difficulty. The voice was quite nice, but why was this person so? She was so fat that she almost turned into a ball. Scared this prince to death. Miss. Dugu Yi swallowed with difficulty. Young master, as long as you marry into my family's property will be yours. The girl with the big face kept blinking with a shy expression. Ruan Xiaoyang is a shrew. How can she be more considerate than me? Young master, you should go with me. The girl with the big face wanted to pull Dugu Yi away. Dugu Yi was so scared that he stepped back. However, the door was behind him and he had nowhere to go. The girl with the big face even brought a few people. It was obvious that she was going to rob him. Dugu Yi was really scared. He didn't expect a girl from a small county to be so fierce. He, a prince, was going to be robbed. Ruan Xiaoyang, come out quickly. Someone is going to die. Dugu Yi reached out and knocked on the door, shouting at the top of his voice. Young master, Ruan Xiaoyang won't come out even if you shout until your throat is broken. The girl with the big face had been observing for a long time. She had shouted so many times, but she had never seen anyone from the Ruan residence come out. And that day, she saw the people from the Ruan residence throw this young master out. She had never seen such a good-looking man in her life. She must snatch him back to be her son-in-law. Ruan Xiaoyang. Dugu Yi wanted to kill the Shi Shang now. Why did he come to this damned place? Whether Ruan Xiaoyang was alive or dead, it had nothing to do with him. It was good that he was alive. Ruan Xiaoyang, get out here for this prince. Chapter 718. Li Hong Hong. A coquettish voice came from the bottom of the stairs. Suer's figure quickly rushed up the stairs and pointed at the big-faced lady. You're snatching men again. The big-faced lady seemed to be very unwilling to see Suer. Her chubby hand slapped at Suer as she said angrily, Suer, mind your own business. What right do you have to interfere with what I do? Your father asked me to teach you. Suer avoided her hand and puffed out her chest, fearlessly facing the big-faced lady. Do you want your father to know what you've done? The moment Suer mentioned her father, the big-faced lady was terrified. She looked around and saw that there was no one around, so she became bold again. She pointed at Suer's nose. Suer, don't think that I'm afraid of you just because you have my father's support. I'm going to bring him back today. Dugu-e. I know that I'm handsome and suave, but I can't stand such a hardcore lady. Ruan Xiaoyang. Dugu-e started banging on the door again. Creak. Dugu-e's back was against the door. At this moment, the door was opened from the inside. Dugu-e fell in and landed on his back, just in time to see a figure approaching. Suer and Li Honghong, who were arguing, also stopped and looked at the person inside. You're arguing in my Ruan residence? Shi Shang glanced at Suer. Who gave you the guts to do so? Suer's meddlesome personality appeared again. Ruan Xiaoyang. This gentleman has been looking for you for so long, but you didn't come out to meet him. Can't you talk to him clearly? Shi Shang looked at the retarded Dugu-e. Dugu-e looked at Suer in confusion. He didn't know her. Really? Suer, aren't you meddling too much? Autumn Water couldn't help but say, when did an outsider have the right to criticize her miss? I just can't stand Ruan Xiaoyang's behavior. Suer righteously spoke up for Dugu-e. This gentleman has been waiting here for so many days. Everyone in Baihe County knows about him. It's too impolite of you to do this. Shi Shang. What does it have to do with you whether I'm polite or not? Can you mind your own business and not the Pacific Ocean? That's right, that's right. Ruan Xiaoyang, what are your intentions for letting such a handsome young master stand outside your house? Li Honghong actually agreed with Suer's nod. Shi Shang smiled and said, close the door. Since you people don't want to see him so much, then this Bao Bao will satisfy you. I'm such an amiable and approachable person. King retard. The servant standing by the door immediately pushed the door open and shut Suer and Li Honghong outside. Li Honghong tried her best to open her eyes wide. Looking at Dugu-e who was still inside, she let out a mournful cry, young master. He was still inside. Suer, it's all because of you. Li Honghong pointed her spear at Su Yu again. It was all because of this woman that Ruan Xiaoyang let that mister into the residence. If it wasn't for her sudden appearance, she would have already carried that mister back. The more Li Honghong thought about it, the angrier she got. She stepped forward and slapped Su Yu. It's all because of you, you bitch. Who told you to complain to my father? Who told you to stop me? Li Honghong scratched and pulled at Suer's hair and clothes. Li Honghong, stop. Ah. Li Honghong, you're crazy. Li Honghong's weight had an overwhelming advantage. She completely suppressed Suer. In the residence, Dugu-e was still sitting on the ground. Shi Shang stood beside him. Screams could be heard from outside. Dugu-e had goosebumps when he heard it. How could this woman be so scary? He suddenly realized that this woman in front of him wasn't so evil after all. Miss Ruan. Dugu-e stood up from the ground. This time, he didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. I'm looking for you because someone asked me to. Do you know Sir Fan? He asked me to take care of you for a while. If Sir Fan wasn't his teacher, he would never have agreed to Sir Fan's request. He had to run from the capital to such a desolate place to suffer. Sir Fan? Why does he want you to take care of me? Didn't Sir Fan say in the letter that Dugu-ye's whereabouts were unknown? Was he lying to her? And now he wanted Dugu-ye to take care of her? What was the meaning of this? Sir Fan and Father Ruan had been friends for many years. When Father Ruan had passed away, Sir Fan had personally come to offer his condolences. You should ask Sir Fan about this. I don't know. He didn't want to know about these things. He just wanted to live well. The timing doesn't match, Shi Shang said calmly. Dugu-ye was confused. What time? When did Sir Fan ask you to take care of me? Dugu-ye frowned and thought for a while. Around September last year. In September, she was still in Baihe County. She hadn't written to Sir Fan. Why would he ask Dugu-e to take care of her then? Dugu-e said, I was going to look for you at that time, but I was delayed by personal matters. Then I met you in the capital. But before he could finish, she ran away. How did you know it was me? They'd never met. How did he know it was her? Dugu-e brushed the hair hanging in front of his chest. This prince still has spies in the capital. Dugu-xiu is investigating you, so this prince naturally knows. Shi Sheng frowned. There was nothing wrong with this explanation. When she was in the capital, she didn't hide her whereabouts. It was easy for someone to find her. So now there was only one question. Why did Sir Fan ask Dugu-e to take care of her so early? Shi Sheng wasn't someone who liked to be confused. If she couldn't figure it out, she wouldn't think about it. When the time was right, the questions would naturally be answered. You can go back. I don't need any help. Please thank Sir Fan for his kindness. She had many ways to save her life. She didn't need a retarded burden. Dugu-yi's eyes lit up. He said hurriedly, That's what you said. No, you have to write a letter to me so that I can report back to Sir Fan. Shi Sheng. What a sensible prince. No wonder he could survive until the end. Shi Sheng really did write a letter to Dugu-yi. He told him to take the letter and get out of here. Dugu-yi happily left the Ruan residence with the letter. However, in less than an hour, Dugu-yi ran back nervously. Dugu-xiu. I saw Dugu-xiu. Dugu-yi said, panting. Shi Sheng looked at him with disdain. So what if you saw him? Was Dugu-xiu a monster with 3 heads and 6 arms? What was there to be afraid of? Dugu-yi glared at Shi Sheng. Dugu-xiu brought his army and blocked the entrance of Baihe County. I can't go out now. There was only one way out of Baihe County. If he went out, he would definitely be discovered by Dugu-xiu's men. He still wanted to live a good life in the capital. He didn't want to go against Dugu-xiu. Shi Sheng asked curiously, Dugu-xiu doesn't know that you left the capital? Of course not. Dugu-yi rolled his eyes at Shi Sheng. Then he's not that powerful. Shi Sheng pursed his lips. He didn't even know that this retarded person left the capital. Chapter 719. Dugu-yi didn't tell Dugu-xiu the details of how he left the capital. Anyway, he couldn't leave Baihe County now. He had to stay in Shi Sheng's residence. Dugu-yi was a scoundrel and a slick person. It could be seen from how he stayed in the Ruan residence. Dugu-yi was someone who would do anything to save his life. Shi Sheng suspected that he would even agree to disguise as a girl. Dugu-xiu didn't hide his identity this time. Soon, everyone in Baihe County knew that the regent was here. Shi Sheng went to look at Dugu-xiu without fear of death. Dugu-yi dressed up as a middle-aged man and followed beside Shi Sheng. Ruan Xiaoyang, this prince. Why are you here to see him? He's the one who wants your life. Why are you following me? Damn, this idiot who was afraid of death. It wasn't good to stay in the residence. Why did he have to follow her? There was cat biscuits. I'm here to see what he's here for. Dugu-yi looked around with shifty eyes, causing the people around him to look back. Shi Sheng face-bombed. When you're a thief, don't think of yourself as a thief. Stay calm. Shi Sheng silently moved to the side. Stay away from idiots and cherish life. Shi Sheng saw Su Yu in the crowd. She seemed to have been pulled here by someone. When she saw Dugu-xiu, who was surrounded by so many people, Su Yu was a little confused. Dugu-xiu and the county magistrate talked for a while. Then, the people around him stood up and motioned for the crowd to quiet down. This time, the prince is here for the selection of girls in the palace. If there are any girls of suitable age in your family, report to the county government. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Selection. Why was the selection in Baihe County? This doubt flashed through their minds. Soon, these people were only happy. If their daughters entered the palace and were favored, they would soar to the sky. Selection. Dugu scratched his ear. Why didn't I hear about this? It's obviously an excuse. Shishang rolled his eyes at Dugu. Of course, this prince knows. Dugu couldn't change his words. After he finished speaking, he covered his mouth. When he saw that no one was looking, he continued, "Don't you think this excuse is strange?" Of all the excuses, they had to use the talent show. Shishang was silent. He was probably here for the female lead. Did Du Guxiu marry that whatever northern general's daughter? Shishang asked out of the blue. I did. Du Guxiu nodded. Shishang observed a moment of silence for the female lead. Do you know why Du Guxiu wants to marry her? Du Guxiu leaned closer to Shishang and couldn't wait to share the news he knew with Shishang. Military power? The northern general had a large number of troops under his command. Du Guxiu married his daughter for military power. Du Guxiu extended a finger. This is only one of them. Shishang's mouth twitched. There was a second one. Du Guxiu nodded, his eyes burning with the flames of gossip. The only thing missing was a row of words written on his face. Hurry up and ask me, hurry up and ask me, hurry up and ask me. Shishang was not interested and did not want to ask. However, Du Guxiu couldn't hold it in anymore. Let me tell you. He and the woman from the general's residence had a secret affair long ago. He had no choice but to marry her. Shishang was shocked. How did you know? I bumped into them. Du Guxiu said proudly. Shishang was speechless. He didn't understand why Du Guxiu was so proud. The last time he returned to the capital to attend the northern general's birthday banquet, Du Guxiu should have been drugged and... Du Guxiu extended his hand to meet hers. He gave Shishang a, you know what I mean, look. And he was caught red-handed by the northern general. Do you think he wouldn't marry her? Shishang was speechless. She was still a girl. Was it really okay to be so explicit with her? But the male lead had actually been set up by someone? Amazing. He had already predicted the death of the northern general's family. Du Guxiu had already entered the yamen with the cowering county magistrate. Shishang saw Du Guxiu's men bringing the female lead to the back door of the yamen. The crowd dispersed one after another. Most people went to spread the good news. The selection of girls in the palace was a temptation for many people. They envisioned how much glory and wealth they would have after entering the palace. But after entering the palace, they realized that reality was much crueler than they had imagined. Many people brought their daughters to report to the county yamen. After a round of selection, only a few good-looking girls were left. Miss, bad news. Someone from the yamen is asking you to go to the county yamen. Qiu Shui rushed in from outside. Shishang slowly opened her eyes. In the end, the fire still managed to reach me. Mr. Plot, you're not dead yet. Miss, what should we do? I heard that all the good-looking girls have been selected. With your looks, you'll definitely be selected. If Miss was selected, what would happen to the Yuan family? Let's go and have a look. Shishang slowly got up and patted her wrinkled skirt. She said arrogantly, let's go and see what these idiots want to do to me. Miss, you can't go. Qiu Shui blocked in front of Shishang. She was so anxious that her eyes turned red. I'm not going. They won't stop. Shishang patted Qiu Shui's head. I'll wait for news at home. They won't dare to do anything to me. Mississippi Qiu Shui's tears had accumulated in her eyes. If she blinked, they would fall out. Shishang smiled gently and walked around Qiu Shui. Qiu Shui bit her lip. She made up her mind and chased after Shishang. Shishang didn't stop her and let her follow her. There were still some girls lingering in the yamen. They were all rejected and were unwilling to accept it. As soon as Shishang appeared, these people started pointing at Shishang and whispering, "Look, the one from the Yuan family is here. She should be selected, right? Then why are you still talking? If Yuan Xiaoyang enters the palace, What will happen to the Ruan family? They have so much property. If Ruan Xiaoyang isn't around, won't they be? Shisheng walked past these people without looking sideways. Zhou Shui glared at these people angrily. They only knew how to gossip. When he entered the yamen, Shisheng saw a familiar face. Ding Xiang. She was being supported by a servant girl and was crying. A middle-aged man stood beside her. He was probably Ding Xiang's father. At this moment, his expression was also ugly. Ding Xiang pushed the servant girl away and grabbed Father Ding's arm. Her voice was choked with sobs. "Father, I don't want to enter the palace. I'm engaged to second young Master He." "Daughter, I have no choice." Father Ding sighed. What could ordinary people like them do about a decision made by the higher-ups? The people couldn't fight with the officials. Father Ding waved his hand. "Go in first. I'll talk to the Lord." Ding Xiang sniffled as she made her way inside. She just so happened to enter the yamen at the same time as Shisheng. She lifted her eyes to look at Shisheng. Perhaps because they were in the same boat, Ding Xiang lowered her head without a sound. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.